Hello, freaks. What the fuck's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This episode of the Joe Rogan Experience podcast is brought to you by Lumosity.com. Did it again. And that's not a dude, by the way. That'd be a cool name, though. My name's Lou. Lumosity. That's a badass dude.
Is that the internet? That helicopter?
No, that's real life. That's
I thought that was a sound effect.
They're looking for you, Eddie Bravo.
Don't say that.
No, not now. Shit.
I didn't say shit. Listen to Alex Jones. Go after him.
Black helicopters.
Yeah.
Problems and solutions, ladies and gentlemen. Lumosity is a website that's designed as a gym for your dome. As we sit here drinking Miller High Life. Lumosity is it's essentially what they've developed is games that increase your brain's capacity to do things. And what do I mean by that? It's like it gets your brain in shape, and they don't come across as like being work. It comes across as games. It's really interesting, and it's based on the science of, it's called neuroplasticity. That's the idea behind it. And there's a series of questions that they ask you when you sign up. And when you go to their website, you click on Get Started Now, and then you start entering all sorts of information, like what aspects of your memory are you trying to train? Like recalling the location of objects. Can you not breathe? What's going on?
What happened?
What the fuck are you doing? It sounds like you're dying over there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're breathing right into the microphone.
I'm sorry.
Marijuana makes you do odd things and not realize you're doing it. Lumosity has memory, attention, speed, like meaning the speed of recognizing things, coming up with answers for things, flexibility, communicating clearly and thinking outside the box. And again, all this shit is done in games. It's really interesting stuff. I enjoy it. It's fun. It's fun to play.
Has there ever been a guy that, you know how there's a bunch of 350-pound guys out there that you know that all of a sudden they're 190, they get in shape. I've been doing jiu-jitsu the last year.
Oh,
you know, Robert Bradley was 350 pounds.
Yeah.
He's 190 pounds now. He's
amazing.
All because he cut out soda and he started training jiu-jitsu. So with this luminosity thing that you got, what if there's
Lumosity.
What if you start, like, you know these dudes, you know certain, you know, this guy Joe or whatever is an idiot. And all of a sudden he gets into these games and he's fucking intelligent. He's like Graham Hancock and shit. You think there'll be guys like that?
I think it's possible to increase your capacity slightly. That's what I think. I know how dumb I am, so I know, like, when it comes to, like, have you ever talked to a mathematician?
In sixth grade.
I've had conversations with mathematicians, just random guys that I've met places, and start talking to them about that fucking Goodwill Hunting shit when they write on the chalkboard and all those weird...
What the fuck does that mean?
Exactly.
I knew it a little bit meant in algebra, because algebra was kind of easy to me, and it was all that shit, but I don't remember what it means now.
Well, I think this is what it's like, I think. And I think this is where Lumosity comes into this, is that when you do something a lot, you get in shape for that thing. And that includes comedy. You know, I've been doing comedy for 23 years, but dude, if I take a couple months off, I get on shaky legs. If I just try to go on stage flat, I have to go over my material, I have to listen to notes, I have to listen to old recordings and get myself in the groove, because my mind's not in comedy shape. And that's what happens. Like, that happened to me when I was filming that show, the sci-fi show, because I was doing it constantly. I got out of comedy shape. Like, I could feel it. I could feel it on stage. I was just off a little. And I think that mathematics especially is one of those things that you get into and you build a base. You build a base, an understanding of, you know, simple stuff like, you know, simple arithmetic, simple subtraction. Then you start dividing things. Then you start getting into algebra and equations and calculus. And you need that base. You need, like, you got to be in shape. You can't just get into a jiu-jitsu gym and roll with Eddie Bravo. You got to have some fucking training behind you. You got to build your conditioning up. You got to get somewhere. I think it's like that with everything you do, man.
I remember how to multiply numbers and add them and subtract them and write them up, right? But the division, you know, when you put them in the little house and it's like 345 divided into 17,212. I'm like, how the fuck do you do that again? What? You start on the top of that house, and where do the decimal points go? I I don't know how to do that shit no more.
Yeah,
That's where it stops.
It's one of those things, man, where you just got to do it all the time. It's got to be a part of your life. If it's not a part of your life, it's too slippery. So like with that, I think that's the way with jiu-jitsu. I think that's the way with comedy. I think that's the way with anything hard.
I think most people forget that shit, like this division, because I'm sure you probably fuck up too.
Fuck up.
So what?
Yo, I fuck up simple
What
counting.
is the point of? Is it important to learn how to do it, even though you're going to forget it? Is that just an exercise of the mind? It's not the actual division process, and all that. It's just you're young, you're 12, you're 13, you're working out the mind. We know they're going to forget it when they grow older, but you need that workout. Is it for that, or are you supposed to remember how to do that?
I think when you take time off of things, you just forget how to do them. I went for a long period of time where I didn't play pool. I used to play pool 8-10 hours a day when I lived in New York. I was obsessed. I wanted to be a professional pool player. I was obsessed. And then I took like years off, and I started playing again in like 2006 or something after I did a TV show. And I was fucking terrible, dude. I didn't know what I was doing. I just lost all of my information. It all went away. But I was playing 8-10 hours a day, man. I was pretty decent. I was a decent like B player. And then I just was F player as soon as I came back. I was like, where did it all go? Why did I forget how to do everything?
Math is a science.
Get that thing right up on you.
Yeah, math to me it's a science. It's very complex. Like I think you're born with it. It's a serious set of skills that you have to constantly keep working on if you're gonna perfect it. One thing about mathematicians, they never argue with each other. They're not like, oh no, this is going to happen. They never debate. Mathematicians are just like, boom, it's right on the table. You can't argue the math. It's correct. All he's going to do is look at it, and he's going to be like, oh man, that's correct. The same thing with this lumosity, which is so crazy because to me that's like science. Science is basically telling you to put your life, your brain, your neurological patterns, your thoughts, everything on a computer. And I think scientists are able to study that. Like, what do most people like? What are they going to do this? And they're going to start putting it into categories because there's these scientists out there right now that are basically learning how to control computers through one's brain, and they think that your brain is going to be a part of the computer one day.
For sure.
And it's all going to be, that computer is actually going to be you. And I think with this lumosity is a huge step in that era, which is like a science, it's a math. I think it's just building on computers are the next, you can't deny them. We've grown so much through computers in this history. It's only going to get more advanced. It's going to get a lot more technical and a lot more bizarre.
Yeah, and the idea of designing programs that enhance your brain the same way you would design something that would work out a computer. I think you have a real good point about mathematicians too, because they don't argue about shit. It's pretty black and white.
It's
if you
science.
can understand the math, but it gets so squirrely that some guys can't even understand the math. Like it gets to this weird, super complex area, like where they have these $1 million prizes to solve problems. Like there was this one crazy Russian cat that apparently he wanted but didn't want the money. Do you remember that shit? Remember that story? Some Russian dude who solved this long-term mathematical problem, and he didn't even want the money. It was like $1 million prize or something ridiculous behind it. But he was just obsessed with solving these complex riddles of numbers, and he lived in that world, the world of numbers.
How crazy is it that is the pinnacle of intellect?
Yeah.
And we don't know shit about it. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. And that's like it's almost to fully understand. No one knows exactly what we're about and how the fuck why we're here, but it's gonna have something to do with them damn numbers that they're working on, right? It's gonna like the meaning of the universe has something. There's a connection, and they're closer to figuring it out than we are.
Yeah, that's what life's about, is really connecting. As far as connecting a punch, connecting a triangle, the whole world's connecting the dots. Like,
yeah.
And math is the true science to it, because most people can't understand it, so automatically they're like, no, this guy's crazy.
So basically, none of us in this room are involved in the true science of life. We're just fucking shitting ourselves and jerking off all over the place.
Yeah, when you look at people,
reproduction's very key to our species.
Yeah,
but there's so many people out there that could look at science, though. They see the science and they're smart as hell. They look at the science and they still don't see it. But if it was put in math, like you put it in numbers, you have to accept it, right?
Yeah.
They accept the numbers, all that shit, but
they'll check to see if your theory is right, and if it is, then it basically becomes like a law of gravity. It's set in stone. There's no arguing with it. It's a law.
Yeah.
If you throw something up in the air, it's going to fall down.
There's like so no bias in that, you know. In math, there's no bias.
That's an interesting point, man. You know, and I want to get to this on the podcast later when we're going to talk about some numbers and some different things over this weekend. Anyway, go to lumosity.com. Use the code name Rogan. Let them know that I sent you in the referral box, and click Start Training. Create your own program. You can try it out. It's a really, really fascinating website. I think it's a beautiful design. I love the idea behind it, and I love the idea that you can do something like this, that you can create a fucking gym for your brain. It's awesome.
They owe you triple for this commercial. This was 35 minutes.
Yeah, but these commercials are entertaining. That's the whole key behind it. And
we need more of those, Joe. Like the way you used to do it. You're just blazing through them in 2 minutes. You used to give us 30 minutes.
That is true. Sometimes I do.
They're going to expect it, man. You better slow down.
God damn, you're right. Damn it, Eddie Bravo. Why are you freaking me out, man?
He had the Darth Vader.
Yeah, you're freaking me
People
out,
are going to give you
dog.
commercials, and they're going to give you material too. Try to say this.
I've
Go into
already
this.
had that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that shit don't
They
work
try to
so
give you
well.
jokes?
That shit don't work so well. Lumosity.com. Go there. It's the shit. You'll love it. We're also brought to you by Squarespace.com. Squarespace is a new website that is designed to make websites. It's fucking awesome. I'm a huge fan of this thing. Everybody that we've turned on to Squarespace has really enjoyed it.
It's like MySpace, right?
What are you doing?
Sorry, I was adjusting something.
You are retarded.
No, MySpace,
right.
you pretty much used to build your own website, right?
This is way better. This is not going to crash, and I don't think you use glitter tags. And you can set up a store on this.
There's no comments.
You can use it on iPhone, Android, anything. It's pretty badass. And there's going to be, we're going to do some sort of a contest, and the winner, whoever creates the coolest website, is going to get free Squarespace. It's like for a year or something like that, right? It's free service for a year. I'll let you know exactly what the contest is going to be, but I'm expecting some pretty cool websites because it's pretty easy to use. A dope like myself can use it. It's simple. And if you go and use the offer code Joe and the number 11, because we're in the month of November, you can get 10% off your first purchase on new accounts. What's so funny? What happened? What happened?
It keeps on breathing the mic. So
I keep turning it.
Eddie Bravo's like,
Is your nose jacked?
He's a
Yeah,
heavy
my
breather,
nose is
man.
fucked
He's a
up.
heavy
My
breather.
Get
nose
it
is
carved
fucked.
out like Joe did.
I have sleep apnea.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
A
well, I
mild
have that shit
case.
too.
A mild case.
Yeah.
I snore like a motherfucker, man.
Me too.
It's ridiculous.
You know what a
My
big
wife
part of
tapes
that?
me. She goes, "Look, this was you last night." I'm like, "Shit."
You know what a big part of that,
It's
man?
terrible.
It's your nose and it's also your neck. Grapplers get it a lot.
Do you sleep with
because
your
your
chest
neck
up?
is too big.
Dude, I'm all over the fucking place. And I said, "Do you sleep on your side?" Dude, I'm violently wrestling with myself. I'm putting myself in the lockdown and shit when I sleep. I wake up 5 times a day or a night, and I piss a couple times a night. I'm all over the fucking place, man. I never get.
Anyway, make a website on that. Squarespace.com. Eddie Bravo sleeppatterns.com.
Yeah.
And just every night go, man, tonight was a motherfucker. That actually might be a cool video series. Like every day you wake up and talk about your fucking sleep.
And GoPro the snoring.
Yeah.
Have time elapsed.
Make a
Me just
website.
fucking all over the place.
You can go to squarespace.com, Eddie Bravo, and you can make this website and you can sell stuff. You can set up an e-commerce site, and it works for musicians too. This is a thing about Squarespace. You can easily sell music, so it is right up your alley. Digital downloads. You can sell merchandise.
All I need is SoundCloud, man. That's the shit.
You like SoundCloud?
Dude, SoundCloud is the best.
This
You got to get on that SoundCloud. Get the free music. It just seems like most artists, even though they're signed, they'll have their little SoundCloud and put their own remixes and shit on that. I mean, it's all free.
Anyway,
Go ahead.
If you want to go to Squarespace, Eddie Bravo.
Confusing.
Yeah, I'm plugging SoundCloud.
commercial.
I'm sorry.
You can
I
actually
apologize.
sell your
Edit
music.
that out.
It's for musicians who want to sell music. I guess it's pretty fucking hard to sell music these days, right?
You got to give it away.
Is
you
that
got
what
to
it
give
is?
that shit away.
That's a fascinating turn of events, man. The internet is a weird thing. It really is. You can connect your accounts to Facebook, Twitter, all that shit. And if you go to squarespace.com and use the offer code Joe and the number 11, because we're in the month of November, If you can get 10% off if you sign up for a yearly plan, and that discount applies to the entire year. So use the offer code Joe and the number 11, get 10% off your first purchase on new accounts. That's squarespace.com, and use the offer code, all one word, Joe and the number 11 to save 10% for a limited time only. We're also brought to you by Onnit.com. That's ONNIT. If you haven't been there for a while, we got a lot of new shit, including zombie kettlebells that will scare the fuck out of you while you're training. You want to train for the zombie apocalypse? No better way than swinging around a 72-pound zombie head. You will get in some serious shape, son, especially if you double up on those bitches.
Hell yeah.
Did you put hair on them yet?
No hair yet. That's the Eddie Bravo.
Come on.
You got to earn that. You got to earn that.
Wouldn't that be cool? You put like wigs on them.
You got to earn that hair, dude.
You know what I mean? It looks like you're swinging around a decapitated head.
I could think of no better way.
Decapabells. There you go.
There you go. That's pretty sweet.
I could think of no better way to prepare for the apocalypse than two 72-pound zombie kettlebells. Son, you'd be ready. You just gotta do that extreme kettlebell cardio workout series from Keith Weber and do it with two 72-pounders. No one can fuck with you. Those zombies, you just be cutting heads off and running to safety over and over again.
Zombies are real.
They're real.
Put that on your Squarespace.
Put that shit on your website, Eddie Bravo.
You know they're making a prequel to that Facebook movie?
No, I didn't know.
It's going to be about MySpace.
Oh,
Is it?
Yep.
that seems like a bad joke.
What if Justin Timberlake's going to play that guy too?
Episode 1. No, they got to go back to Friendster first.
It started off at LiveJournal.
They should really
Didn't
fuck
it start
with
off
us?
at Friendster, and then everyone left Friendster, and they go, fucking MySpace.
I was on LiveJournal. Remember that?
They should really
I
fuck with us.
don't remember that at all.
They should really fuck with us and use the exact same actors that they used in the Facebook commercial, and don't say shit about it. The Facebook movie. Use the exact same actors. Everyone who was in that Facebook movie now in the MySpace movie. Just to let you know how fucking stupid we think you are.
You know it has a bad ending. The MySpace movie,
I didn't see it.
when everyone started abandoning ship and going to Facebook.
It's still up, man. I tried to delete my account several times. They wouldn't let me. They're like, no, stay. Oh, it didn't work. Sorry. It fucking didn't work. Anyway, go to Onnit.com, check out any of our supplements, use the code name Rogan, and save 10% off any and all the supplements. All the supplements we sell, whether it's Shroom Tech Sport, which is the best. If you want to talk about a pre-workout thing to take, the best thing I've ever tried for enhancing your endurance is this Shroom Tech Sport shit. It's cordyceps mushrooms and B12, and there's a couple other ingredients in there as well. But the idea behind it is that cordyceps mushrooms, they found that these like high altitude herding cattle people noticed that their cows were eating these mushrooms and they were like more active. So they started taking them and people started using them. China used them in the Olympics and they got a bunch of gold medals with them. In 1993, the Beijing Summer Games, the Chinese women's team was using, they figured out how to use these cordyceps mushrooms to run marathons. It says they were running an impossible marathon every day in preparation. Several world records later, the rumor was confirmed.
The rumor.
The doping test came up negative, and it was revealed that the secrets was cordyceps sinensis. Sinensis? Sinensis? How would you say that? How many fucking words are there online that you know what they are when you read them, but you have no idea how to say those?
If that story isn't true, it's a genius story. Because how are you going to check on the Chinese fucking swim team or something? You could just make up some shit easily.
Oh, you could go online and find that pretty quick.
You think so?
These supplements are the real deal, I think, man.
Yeah.
I believe them.
The idea behind this cordyceps mushroom, it improves oxygen utilization and ATP production, two critical aspects of endurance of the endurance athlete. So it's a fantastic workout supplement.
It makes sense. Like just like weed is good in so many different ways with nutrition and everything. Just mushrooms, they definitely put you in touch with the other dimensions that are all around you. So yeah, some of them
will kill the fuck out of you. You got to be careful. Don't eat the wrong shit.
But it makes sense. It makes sense that it does other shit like physical benefits. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Totally does. Anyway, no one's trying to rip you off. This is all the best shit that we could find. We sell everything that we use, and we have a very fair policy on supplements. There's a 30-pill, 90-day money-back guarantee. You don't even have to return it. Just say, I tried this shit. I didn't feel anything. You're fine. You're good. You don't have to send anything in. You get your money back. Because all we're doing is trying to turn you on to some shit that we use ourselves, and I find benefit in it. And I think that if you try it, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to find benefit in it, and you're going to realize why it costs what it costs, what's involved in producing it, what we're trying to do, give you the highest level ingredients available, and do it like in the most ethical way possible. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, for sure. If you feel it, you know it's real. You'll feel your performance peak up. You'll feel a lot more healthier. You know, like the more older you get and the more better you feel, you're gonna start feeling a lot younger. I think it does a lot of great things for you mentally, mind, body, soul, spirit. Everything, man.
There's
Honest
a bunch of shit you can do out there to benefit yourself, and that's what Onna is all about. It's a human optimization website. We're trying to just find shit that puts you in the best mood. Like there's a supplement called 5-HTP, and it helps your brain actually produce chemicals that make you feel better. And serotonin development. It's all from people have been they've had these drugs to enhance serotonin development for a long time, and SSRIs for people who have depression issues. Well, 5-HTP is a natural way to do that, and that's one of the supplements that we sell at Onna. It's called New Mood, and inside of New Mood is 5-HTP and also L-tryptophan, which converts to 5-HTP in your body. The idea being that it'll give you more of a time release effect. As far as what's controversial, I've never had one person say that New Mood didn't have an effect on them, and I've never heard one person say that Shroom Tech Sport hasn't had an effect on them. Positive, both. But there have people that said Alpha Brain didn't do shit for them, and I don't know what that's about. I don't know how. I mean, some people
they work together.
Yeah,
the
maybe
New Mood and the Alpha Brain.
Some people, maybe they're not as sensitive as to what affects their brain or doesn't affect their brain. Maybe it didn't work on them. Maybe they already have like a high level of nutrients in their system and didn't need a bump. Who knows?
Too many people took too much nighttime NyQuil.
Or maybe they're on, a bunch of other shit.
This stuff's giving me the most crazy, elusive, wild dreams ever.
Yeah,
Dude,
amazing
dreams.
amazing
dreams. I use this. I'll take it 2-3 times a day. I'll use the Alpha Brain. I'll use the Shroom Tech, man. And when I go to sleep, like sometimes like I don't go to sleep for a while, but when I sleep, man, I'm out for the whole night. I'm not getting up going to the bathroom. And I wake up in the morning just like the sun shining, like it's great every day.
From New Mood?
New Mood and Alpha Brain.
Shit.
I use them together, man. I sleep so good. And it's not like when you wake up you feel like groggy. Maybe you guys took NyQuil when you're sick. You wake up, you're like, oh my god, like what the hell happened?
Yeah.
Dude, you take this, you wake up, you're like, man, how you doing, babe? You feeling good? You ready to get after it? Like you just automatically in the zone as soon as you wake up. You know?
Damn, I gotta get that.
No, New Mood's the best
practice
one,
is early.
I think.
No, I do have New Mood, but I would take it every now and then after a late night podcast, and I'm all wound up and I need to get some sleep. I use it to try to calm down.
Well, people who are into lucid dreaming, they've been using Alpha Brain. People who there's like a whole, how people are into jiu-jitsu?
Mm-hmm.
There's people who are into lucid dreaming.
I tried to get into that for a while.
I never tried it.
It worked twice for me.
Really?
Hell yeah! There's all these different techniques out there, and lucid dreaming. There's a lot of people who think lucid dreaming is like dreams that everything is crystal clear, and so it's it affects them. It's not really that. Lucid dream is knowing that you're inside a dream, recognizing that it's a dream, and then having the power to control everything.
It's the first 2 steps of like the levels of dreaming, I think, right? Like when your mind's still half awake.
No, it's when you realize you're dreaming. You know you're in a dream, and you know you're sleeping, and this is a dream, and you can control everything.
You can
and
tell
it's
yourself
really
to
hard.
remember it. Then when you wake up, you can look it up in a book.
Not only that, you could fly. You could do anything you want.
That's a huge one.
You are in the Matrix. As soon as you recognize you're in a dream, you have to recognize that you have the power to do whatever you want.
The only time I ever had a lucid dream happen because of something I did, it was something I saw in a movie where a guy was saying when you go through a door, you should knock on the door and say, "Am I dreaming?" And do it every day when you go through doors. Like whenever you go through a door, knock, knock, am I dreaming? So that becomes like a habit when you go through doors. So when you go through a door in your dream, I did this for a while. Then I went through a door in my dream and I went, oh shit, I'm dreaming. I was like, there's no door here. And then I realized I was dreaming. And
you're like, remember this.
Normally, when I know that I'm dreaming, I'll just wake right the fuck up. I normally can't hang on to it. I always describe dreams as being like a really gentle bubble, like a kid's bubble where they blow bubbles. You can barely hold it in your hand. But dreaming on nootropics, whether it's Alpha Brain or Neuro One or New Mood or any of these, I get these weird like rubber dreams. Like you can bounce them around and move them. They're durable bubbles.
I slept with DVDs. I got into it. There's people that are really good at it. There's guys that could do it every night. They're masters.
Yeah.
And they look forward to dreaming. And while I was into this for like maybe 6 months, I got into it. I got a couple DVDs. And you sleep with these DVDs and they keep waking you up. Like every couple minutes a guy will go, wake up. And then it actually does wake you up. And then you go back to sleep, and you get used to just sleeping through the wake ups, and then as soon as I don't remember exactly how it all goes down, but it's really, really hard because you got to keep reminding yourself. You got to keep thinking of a certain place, and then you can do all that other stuff where you knock on it every time you walk through a door. You ask yourself, "Am I dreaming?" in your everyday life, but that becomes really hard. Like you forget, you get lazy, you don't want to do it, so it's hard. So I was able to do it twice. With these DVDs, there's all these instructions, and they talk to you, and they try to wake you up. And it worked out of maybe 40 times that I went to bed doing these exercises, these mental drills. It worked twice, and it was pretty awesome, man. And the two things that everyone does.
You can do it with breathing. Because you have fight or flight, so when you're all fight or flight, so you get home from a late night workout, or you just beasting the Joe Rogan on it, kettlebells, feeling like a beast, and you're at night, well, you could be tired, but your body is still reacting to the fight or flight mode. Like, we just did this workout. What do we got to do next? And if you actually take time and you slow down your breathing, you tell your nervous system to slow down. Okay, it's time to relax, which actually releases natural hormones, which I'm sure you're capable of. But in dreams, I've had dreams on these type of supplements where I felt like I could literally push off the ground and I was flying in the air. And I kept telling myself when I woke up, I'm like, man, I got to remember that. So I tell myself almost like you're knocking on the door, remember that. And I was transforming in these dreams. Like I'd fly here and then I would go somewhere else. And when I remembered that, I looked it up and it was like, you're in control of your life. Like you can control your destiny right now. It's like all about. So sometimes I'd have like some good, like positive results. And then like sometimes it's like, you got bit by something and then you gotta like look it up and it's just like, oh, you're just going through a rough one right now. And you're like, yeah, no doubt, right?
So
Makes sense.
They have interpretations?
They have interpretations.
How could they know what I think they're guessing like a motherfucker.
Dude, it's insane. No way, dude.
Really?
They can look some up. Grab a book of a dream book from anywhere and just try to tell yourself to either knock on the door or remember this dream. Wake up and you can even Google this, dream interpretations, and you can really look up your dreams. Some of them are like a little bit off the wall, but some of them you're like, wow. I mean, I've had more than on both hands of dreams that I can remember where like I looked it up and it like maybe something hit.
Wow. Are you talking about knowing that you're in a dream? Like
knowing you're in a dream and remembering like what.
Well, he remembers the dream and then he finds the interpretation. What does it mean?
Okay, so you're remembering the dream.
You're
not in the dream going, "Fuck, I'm in a dream." Once people realize they're in dreams, the two most common things that they do are fly. Everyone flies right away and have sex. Immediately, you're like, "Oh shit!" You start looking for girls. And the two times I did it, I remember when the first time this DVD worked. I thought, oh my God, I'm dreaming.
Let's get to the podcast. We got to end this commercial. Sorry.
Is this a commercial?
Yeah, sorry. Use the code name Rogan. Save 10% off finding the supplements at onnit.com. ONNIT. We'll talk about this right out. We'll just go right into it because I don't want people to miss this. Hit it.
Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night. All day.
While we were doing the commercials, it was just too good. I had to stop and just make the podcast live because on Sirius Satellite Radio, none of that other stuff will go on because it's all the commercials. Yeah. But I'm here with Jeremy Stevens, Little Heathen in the house, and the great Eddie Bravo, my brother.
Thank you for having me.
And we're going to talk about the UFC for sure. But right now we were talking about lucid dreaming, and Eddie was bringing up the fact that you can if you study like methods, there's books that they have, there's exercises that you can do where you can
DVDs.
Try to figure out how to get yourself in a state where you can have a lucid dream, and you did it a couple times.
And again, lucid dreams. A lot of people think lucid dreams are crystal clear dreams. Lucid dreaming is when you know you are dreaming, not a crystal clear, profound dream. It's when you figure out you're dreaming, you can control everything. Everything becomes super clear. Like once I figured out I was dreaming and it worked, this DVD talks to you while you're sleeping and then it wakes you up. He's trying to wake you up in your dream. You're dreaming, wake up. You're dreaming, wake up. Control
this DVD you're saying that teaches you how to
so
you go to sleep with this? Is that what you do?
And there's all these mental exercises you do. You have to think of you're on an island with, think about the person you want to dream with and all that. It's really hard. It's easier just to go to fucking sleep.
What if you got to like, if it's a 5 DVD series, you got to like DVD number 5 and it's like, and I'm going to come to my house and you're going to unzip my pants and you're going to suck my cock. Like it's programming you. It's all programming people across the country to be this guy's blowjob slave.
But the two most popular things there's black belts at lucid dreaming. If you have it's a mental exercise, and you just want to go to sleep generally at night, so it's very hard to do. You have to be militant, and you have to be sharp while you're tired and ready to go to sleep. It's hard. But it worked a couple times for me, and the two things that most people like doing are flying. As soon as they figure out they're in a dream, they go, fuck, I'm going to fly. Fuck, I'm flying, shit. And then sex. They go right to sex. And it's true, because the 2 times it worked for me. And when I used to have lucid dreams as a kid, I actually had them when I was a kid once or twice a year. And I'm talking about being like 8 or 9 years old. And the first thing I wanted to do was just like find a girl and make out with her and just like hump her. It was a weird thing. I was a horny little kid. It was a weird thing. I wanted to go look for girls. And I remember these lucid dreams. I remember a couple I'll never forget.
Well, isn't it amazing that when your hormones are at your highest, that's when you're the youngest and dumbest and not able to control that shit at all.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it, you're 13, your shit is killing you.
Yeah.
All day you're baffled. It's like you went through your whole life, feeling like pretty much the same dude, just slowly growing, and then all of a sudden you hit Thursday, you get into a storm of confusion in high school where your dick is hard all day, you don't know what the fuck is going on, and God forbid you find a girl who's willing to touch your dick. Oh my God, you stick to her like glue. Like she's like your drug dealer. You're a crack addict and she's your drug dealer, and you hang around with her no matter what. Stay close. You can't even believe this. Like, my favorite thing is to hang out with a girl. When the fuck did that happen?
Even if it's just making out, because it's going to be making out for a while. Making out's awesome. You just want to make out I want to go to movies just to make out. Just like, whatever, fuck the movie. Let's just make out. It's the only private spot at 13 that you could find. It's dark. But anyways, about these dreams, I ended up doing it twice, and that's what I did. The first time, as soon as I figured out I was dreaming, because you are dreaming, I'm like, I am dreaming. Everything became really bright, and immediately I flew with my hands down like that, like fucking Iron Man, through canyons, and it was so bright, and all I kept thinking was, I can't believe this is a dream. This is so clear. This is so vivid. That's all I was thinking. Dreams are amazing. And I'm flying through canyons like Iron Man. And I thought, oh, I'm going to have sex now. And this is when I was single. This is before I was married. So I was a single man. So immediately from I'll remember like a video. I descended from into the canyons, and up came this girl hiker, this hot girl, and she just smiled at me like a dream in a movie. Like if this was in a movie, I came down into the canyon, she's hiking, she's hot, and I take off her clothes and we start love making. And I remember thinking, I can't believe this is a dream. This is so real. And then bam, I woke up.
With a vicious boner.
Yeah, right there I woke up. It was so crystal clear. I just got too excited. I'm like, I can't believe this is a dream. I feel like I'm having sex right now.
That's always been my issue.
You're coming all the time.
Yeah.
But no, really,
that's always been my issue with lucid dreams, that they go away too easy.
Because you get excited because you can't believe you're dreaming. Yeah. And you know that all you got to do is open your eyes, and then you start opening your goddamn eyes.
Take those supplements, hit the sprint program that we're on. I'm telling you, man, you'll dream amazing
What
dreams.
sprint program are you on?
Just the Alliance Sprint program.
What's the Alliance Sprint program?
It's basically just for like the first minute, 15 seconds, like you're running by yourself, like at a 15 incline. Just
so it's all
out.
treadmill sprinting?
It's treadmill sprinting, and then we also do 400 meters 15 times. So we're running around the track. That's one sprint, 15 times, like 55, 50-second rest, and then again, boom.
So this is something that everyone on the team does?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow, is that unique to an MMA camp, that a team has a single strength and conditioning protocol that kind of everybody follows? I
think it's very important just to follow a set structure.
Yeah.
You know the ground rules. It's kind of like how we're talking about the math program the other day, the Lumosity stuff. You just basically set like a good foundation. If you have good stability, good foundation, I think you're a lot more easier to control your goals.
Do a lot of MMA camps have that? Like they have like a sprint series that the whole camp will do every week, or a strength and conditioning series that the whole camp will do?
I imagine. I think I've heard of like Greg Jackson. I think he's real famous for his sand domes.
Yeah.
Something like that. So I think that's a good one. You see about like Carlos Condit and guys like that always hitting some high altitude, and I know Diego Sanchez is all big into altitude. So. But I think everybody either does their own thing, or at least there is some type of structure where they do Sam Doom. So
a lot of the big teams, at least.
Yeah.
I think there's a big benefit to a team, isn't there? When you're a fighter, I mean, it's the most intimate individual thing ever. It's the most lonely, separated,
selfish,
completely selfish, completely on your own. But there's a massive benefit, obviously, to being a part of a team, because you see like like at this point in time, there seems to be like a separation. There's very few high-level fighters that are training like individually, that you don't know who they're training with. You don't hear about them training with anybody good. It's very, very few. It's usually guys that are just sort of just getting into the game, and then they'll find, like when John Jones, before he joined Jackson's camp, he was up in upstate New York, and didn't have guys like his level around there, and then went over to Jackson's, and then really started to catch his stride.
He was searching for that coach.
Yeah, the full package.
Yeah. Everybody. I think a lot of the fighters need that. That's what I did with a lot of my time and money. Was spent searching for a coach and just a good camp, somebody that just fit me. Yeah. And it took me a while to settle in, and I think I found that at Alliance MMA. Yeah,
there's a gang of good camps in this country now. There at one point in time it was just like ATT, and
they're still good, and they're still getting a lot of people. I mean, Tyrone Woodley just came up huge over the weekend.
God damn!
Koscheck,
you know what? This is what I think. This is what I think of Tyrone Woodley. Is I'm watching a GSP and I'm watching Johnny Hendricks. I'm watching them, and I'm really thinking. I don't know if this is a bad thing to say, but I'm thinking, like, who cares who wins here? Because Tyrone Woodley's gonna come and fuck both these dudes up.
Well, Tyrone Woodley just lost to Jake Shields.
Yeah, but man,
and before that he got knocked out by Nate Marquardt too. I mean, I think Tyrone Woodley's a bad motherfucker.
I think he's gonna rise.
He's an amazing athlete, but Tyrone Woodley, he's he really has to. He beat Koscheck, but he really has to face like the really high level guys like Carlos Condit, and we'll see like if he's capable. I think he's an amazing athlete, and if he's not capable of beating that caliber guy now, or he wasn't maybe a year ago when he fought Marquardt, he's gonna keep getting better.
This is what I think. The only reason I say that is just based on that Koscheck fight, just based on that, he had all the potential. High level wrestler, and he has good striking, but in that Koscheck fight, I saw a different human being. I never seen anybody throw punches that fast in MMA. That's the fastest, most powerful. You see those right hands? There was like several of them. You're like, what? I just missed it. It was just that you just saw a display of raw, immense power. Like, I don't see anybody throwing punches like that.
Athleticism with precise. That's how Koscheck became.
It seems like he finally is putting it together. I never did you notice that?
Did
you watch that and go, holy fuck, that was fast 3 different times, not just once.
Koscheck used to be the same dude. He came out, he was wrestling people, and everybody's like, oh man, this guy, all he does is wrestling. Next thing you know, he's knocking dudes out with the right hand because he's starting to feel a lot more confident.
Yeah.
Probably after the show, he got into a good camp, where now he's like, oh man, now I have stand-up skills. I'm already an athlete. I know I can wrestle.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, he's starting to believe in his hands more. And I'd probably credit that to like him being down at an American Top Team, starting to train and use his athleticism because the dude's obviously a freak of nature.
Did you see Woodley's fight with Jay Heron?
I probably did, but 90% of UFC fights, I forget them.
It was a first-round knockout. It was incredible. It was just swarmed him.
Doesn't it seem like the way he threw that right hand, like no one will survive that thing if he connects?
Boom, boom.
Well,
right? And it's so fast.
Look, he's got that's for sure.
And he's got the wrestling. I think, what happens with even the Brazilian fighters, too, is high-level jiu-jitsu black belts, they'll come in, and they definitely are not where they need to be with their striking, and some of them, like super high level guys, they come in and try MMA, and they just haven't spent enough time with their striking, and they'll just leave MMA and just go back to jiu-jitsu because they didn't get the striking was just too hard. But then there's some guys that stick it out and they go through rough patches and they lose because of their striking. People will criticize them because of their striking, like Verdum, for instance. And then after a while, they just stick it out. And like Damian Maia, they just stick it out. People talking shit on their striking, but they stick it out. They handle some losses, and as long as they just keep going and keep the consistency up, all of a sudden, Fabricio Verdum is a dangerous striker now. Like all of a sudden, Damian Maia is a real legit striker.
Yeah.
You find out what type of man you are when you're winning, you're on top. Everybody thinks you're all good, but then when you lose, you're like, man, like I really got to work on some things. But you find out what type of man this guy's going to be. Is he going to go back out there? Is he going to work on things and getting better? Is he just going to go out there and fold over and then that was it?
Yeah, for some fighters, it is a big confidence hit that they never recover from. They have this idea that they're unbeatable from the jump. And then once someone beats them, they have to sort of rethink their whole paradigm. And some guys don't ever do it. Some guys come back stronger. You know, some guys come back from a loss and they're a different guy. They're more focused, more intense, more aware. They cut out all the bullshit in their camp. They thought back on all the things that they did that might have cost them.
It's wisdom, you know. It's just like growing and getting older, making changes, just even outside of fighting. You know, fighting doesn't define half these guys that are in the octagon because a lot of them are real cool dudes. You know, everybody I've ever met's been like super down to earth, awesome. So you meet a lot of cool guys, but it does play a difference, you know.
Yeah, there's no doubt, man. There's no doubt. Do you think that you just cut down from 155 to 145 pounds, and that's like one of the big issues in MMA that people keep talking about is the amount of weight guys cut and how they cut it. You know, a guy like Tyron Woodley, what does he weigh?
Dude, he's a beast.
How is he 170? That makes zero sense.
I'm not racist or thing, but you ever notice like black guys like really really huge, right?
I love when people say that and then they talk about black people. I'm not racist enough.
How is having a perfect body, having a perfect body, how is that
How
bad?
is liking watermelon bad? Watermelon's fucking delicious.
Exactly. And well, they'll jump on the scale and then they're not as heavy, you know, like their body's not as dense. I remember this friend of mine back home, D'Amico, and he was just this big dude, and we used to work together at the same company, and he would just eat whatever, chips, hot dogs, whatever, and he was just always jacked, man. Never understood it, you know. And I'm like jealous. I'm over here getting like a belly. I'm like, Jesus, no
There's
way,
some
man.
dudes like that. It's just having a mesomorphic frame. That's what it is, and that's what Tyron Woodley is. He's like extreme mesomorph. You know, when you cut down to 145, how much did you have to lose?
Man, I'm probably 176, 177 right now.
Oh my God!
I cut a lot of weight, but I credit that to the fitness VT diet that I'm on, and George Lockhart, who just knows how to weight cut. And I was thinking about it for a long time, and just the changes going down there. I'm a lot faster. I feel a lot more athletic. I'm working on my athleticism. I'm trying to be a lot more precise, and just I know that the power is always there. It's a lot more natural, but I feel like I have just a better mental edge. I can use a lot more of tools at 145 pounds, and you know, I basically grew up inside the octagon. I probably shouldn't have been there at a certain time. It's just that my heart carried me through like a lot of fights. So, like I said, I was searching for this camp to help me out and be like, man, just get a hold of me. I have talent. You know, I just wanted to get out of my hometown after a certain while. I could only
Which was
Des Moines, Iowa.
Okay.
And you know, I was just like, man, I need to get a hold of some better guys. I got to train, get higher level coaching.
Right,
you know, just
right.
different type of stuff. I mean, I didn't even have a striking coach. I was just going to gym, whichever was the best. I was there. So I think I just credit that to, like we said, you know, my coaches, and then, you know, making that cut. I need George Lockhart and Fitness VT because he gives me everything. I mean, I'm water loading a lot. You know, I don't want to give away too much of his stuff, but I feel amazing, and it's the reload after the weight cut, the stuff and the things that he has me eat, specifics and everything that I'm calculating. It's amazing, and I feel.
How much do you
awesome.
put back on? So if you get down to 145, what do you weigh when you walk into the octagon?
About 170.
Jesus Christ, son!
That's crazy.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, are you using
But,
IVs?
and that's actually eating light. Yeah, I do. Use
How many
IVs.
IV bags do you put?
I do
back
two.
in?
I do one water, like regular water, and then I do like a warm temperature, like a sodium bag, just to obtain.
You have to. Like, if you didn't have those bags, it would make a big difference, right?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
You can definitely tell.
There's some people that don't like, you know, they don't want to do the bags. And I keep telling them at the high level, you know, you want to rehydrate scientifically. And
Very, yeah.
Yeah, there was a guy in the UFC that got caught way back in the day because he was taking blood out of his body to make weight. They went to his hotel room. There was a doctor there and fucking bags of his blood. They took it out. I don't know what they did. They stored it somehow or another. I guess they had a freezer there, a refrigerator there or something, and they put it back in his body later.
it's like blood doping, right?
Like blood doping, yes, but I mean, they're not giving him enough chance to rebuild the blood cells. The blood doping, the way it works is your body rebuilds all those blood cells, and then you reintroduce all this extra blood. You've got crazy amounts of blood now, and your body is eventually going to burn it off. But until then, enjoy the benefits of extreme production of oxygen or you know, utilization of oxygen. That's what that EPO stuff does too. That's what those cyclists keep getting busted for.
That dude's going too hard. He's going too hard
Yeah.
right there.
So this guy, he cut the weight, and then the last couple of pounds he took out in blood.
Nice.
And then he put it right back in when he went back.
I'd probably, you know, some people pass out. I mean, you're already cutting down weight and then go to do that. You know, I guess depending on how much weight he cut.
I've seen dudes that look like they're on death's door. I've seen dudes that are cutting weight, like Travis Lutter when he fought Anderson Silva. I've never seen a guy look worse in my life that's still alive. He was shuffling. He couldn't walk, man. He was shuffling towards the scale the second time he was making weight. His lips were chapped as fuck. His whole face was sucked in. He looked like he was dying. I mean, he was dying. He was essentially draining himself out, but he just miscalculated. He couldn't get down.
He was this close to beating Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
Damn, he was all over
Dude,
him.
out of all the guys who were like super talented that didn't live up to their potential, Travis Lutter might be number one in my book.
He's one of those guys you're talking about that trained himself.
Trained himself.
He didn't like.
Yep.
He didn't like.
Was he from
going to
Midwest
camps
too?
He
from
was
Texas.
from Texas, and he went to Jackson's towards the last few fights of his career. I think he was at Jackson's when he lost to Natal, and I think that might have been the last fight. He's got some back issues though too from jiu-jitsu. Who doesn't? You know, you're constantly training and rolling, and you're gonna get some back issues. Ricardo Laborio told me he's got like 6 bulging discs or 7 bulging discs, something crazy. These guys are all like a little bit jacked up. Their backs are.
Needs to get on the lacrosse ball, man. Medicine ball. And
that
Hurricanes, dude. I
does
swear
help.
by those. Like it opens up my posture. If I start going like this, I don't know if you see if the people are watching. Like you'll start getting rounded. Like Vanderlei can't throw a straight punch.
Right.
But if you get into a lacrosse ball and you're able to break up your pec minor, your pec major, your lats, your traps, you know, even like your scapula, and you're able to get in those knots that are hurting. Your elbow's not going to hurt anymore because you're elongating the muscles that need to be elongated. You know, if you're.
Are you talking about like a rumble roller?
No, like a lacrosse ball.
Lacrosse ball, or like a softball or a baseball, something hard. Like I get in my hip flexors because constantly running, wrestling, being like on your thing, like my knees will start to hurt. So I'll get on like a lacrosse ball. I mean, I'll break up everything. Every muscle down from my hip, I'll start at like the glute, the hip flexor, and I just.
Does it ever accidentally go up your ass?
Never, never.
Never know, man.
He's not trying
How
hard
many
enough.
times does that happen to you?
3 or 4, whatever.
Hey, did you wrestle?
Yeah, as a kid, as a kid growing up, I did.
Jeremy, you
wrestle.
mind getting closer to the mic?
Oh, sorry,
It makes it just
Jesus
big difference
Christ,
in how it
Jeremy.
sounds.
Is that better?
Yeah.
I
Or
don't
you
want
could
to
just move it
breathe too
towards
hard.
You can grab it and
beautiful.
move it towards you. You can just
Yeah.
do it like this
Yeah, they move
and bring
around.
it towards you.
Nice, got it.
There you go. Look at that.
Nice.
Good
I
luck.
actually grew up wrestling as a kid. My one of my uncles, it was my grandfather. He was big into like wrestling and boxing and stuff like that. So he, when my parents were kind of going through a hard time, he's the one who encouraged me to get into wrestling, get involved in sports like that. So I started wrestling as a kid.
How old?
About 5 years old.
Did you wrestle in high school?
I did wrestle in high school. I wrestled 1 year in high school. My parents had a complication, so I was transferring to like a lot of schools, so I was kind of wrestling, but like I was on like another side of town. Then 1 week I was on another side of town.
There's a recipe for becoming a fighter.
Yeah,
Moving to
yeah.
a bunch of schools.
Yep. So when I wrestled, I wasn't like great or anything. I just used heart, just out there strong holding people, and that's basically how I got involved with UFC, was through my grandfather watching that. So I do have a little bit of a wrestling background. I'd say my wrestling's a lot better now, working with good guys, Olympic level guys like Dominic Cruz, coaches pushing me. So I'm always in there with like a good set of dudes, that are just
How long
killing
you
me.
been with Alliance now? You're in San Diego, right? You're training down
Yeah,
there?
about 3 years now.
That's awesome.
Solid, yeah. The first year it took me a while to get used to it, man. We train hard up there. We spar hard. We go hard. A lot of drills, a lot of technique.
What took you, like, what was the biggest transition, the hardest part of it? Conditioning, or what was it? Was it hard to get used to?
Just the day
level
in,
of
day
talent?
out. Just the. I say I hung in there. That's not. I mean, I have my good days, my bad days, but it's just everybody's after the same goals, the same dreams, but it's the day in, day out. Anybody can fight. We can go right to the chevron, and just start a fight. Anybody can just go fight, but when you actually discipline yourself, it's the day in. The hardest thing is like, man, you're sore, like you're talking about. And you're like, oh man, I got to get up, I got to go train.
Yeah.
You don't want to disappoint your boys, let alone do you want to lose the fight. You got to give up who you are now for who you want to be in the future.
Yeah, George St. Pierre was talking about after the fight. It was an interesting thing.
I don't want to hear nothing about George St. Pierre on this podcast. Okay?
Can you imagine? Can you imagine we just
We
made
should have kept
a
that
plot?
Yeah, we should have trolled everyone else. And you're like, you're right.
You're
Let's
right.
not
You're
talk
right. Fuck
about
that fight.
Yeah,
It's
fuck-
not even that important.
Yeah, I don't want to. That's the last thing. I
But
wanna
he was
talk
talking about how he can't sleep. He's got a few personal issues, apparently, allegedly, that's being reported online. And unfortunately, with his family's health and what have you, I don't know what's true and what's not true, but that's what the story is, which makes a ton of sense why he's saying that he can't sleep. He's having a real hard time. He thinks he's going crazy.
Aliens.
And yeah, he was talking about it on the podcast. He said he gets abducted by aliens. But I think also it's just fucking hard to keep up. I think what you're saying about the day in, day out, and intensify that even more when you're in the champ and you're in the top of a hill with a bunch of hungry sharks nipping at your feet.
But he's stressed out all the time, man. I'm telling
yeah.
you gotta have those like type of lacrosse balls. Like you gotta keep your stress levels down, because if you're stressed out all the time, say a fight week, I'm stressed out all week. I can't get my weight. I'm stressing out. I'm freaking out. I'm going through crazy. So my nervous system's just gonna become like erratic. It's like, man, we are stressing. We are going crazy right now. By the time you go to fight and you need all those hormones that you need to go like boost yourself up, get yourself back into that mode, your body's just gonna be like, no, bro, we're already tapped out. You know,
We've been
like
freaking out
you should
all
have been
week.
chilling out. So then, like, you're just like, boom, you just hit like a crash. As compared to if like you're relaxed all week, you're chilling out, you're not really, you're just thinking the good vibes. You know, weight's going down, things are just going beautiful, everything's looking sharp, but you're just keeping yourself relaxed the whole time. So then when you go to fight, you're energized to the max. You're like, boom, it's all right. Now this is what we train for. You know?
Yeah, that's the adrenaline dump, right? That's
I think
the all week or few days leading up to it.
George
See a
might
lot
be
of guys.
little tense, man. I think he needs to just relax, bro. And you know, like this is the fight game where we have small gloves. This isn't boxing, you know, where you're hitting yourself with 16s, which is even bad as it is. These guys, man, some of these dudes that are swinging at you, that you know, it could put you out any second. You know, like
How
it
about
just takes
shins, man? How about your fight with Hani Jason? How about
Shin.
that shin that you caught him with in the first round? Holy shit! Did you see that fight? God damn, dude.
Thanks,
and let me
man.
tell you something. That follow-up right hand was ferocious.
Yeah.
There was no hesitation. You cracked him with that, and you were on autopilot. You just launched that right hand on him, and that shit was perfect. Pull that up, Brian. Pull that video up.
You know, and make
Jeremy Stevens versus Ronnie Jason. Rony. You pronounce it Hani. but
You
it's
need a
spelled
poster.
Ronnie.
You know what would make a great poster that big right there?
The KO.
Is a poster of that uppercut. You know that big uppercut.
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
like
yeah.
that right in mid uppercut.
Thank you, man.
That would
Oh,
make
the
a great
Rafael Dos
poster.
Anjos
Yeah,
uppercut?
wouldn't that make
Yeah.
a great poster? Come on.
Yeah,
I think it'd
You
be
have
good,
two-
but I'd have to give the poster away, man. I don't like looking at stuff like that.
Right.
I read this book one time, this architect, because people will come up to me like, oh, man, like what was your favorite fight or whatever? And I always tell them my next one, you know, because I just think of like visualization, you know, visionary, you know, like I always want, like it was a cool knockout. I appreciate everybody giving me like all the love, but there's still more work in the gym that I've been working on, you know, and I've been at this for a while, but I really feel like I'm just starting to like barely tap into my potential.
How
and I'm
old
just
are you?
getting better. 27.
27?
Yeah, and
Damn,
my first
Perfect.
on my 21st birthday, I fought Den Thomas.
You just must have been some crazy motherfucker coming up locally, right? For you to for Joe Silva to take notice of you. You're 21 years old and go, we got to put this fucking beast. Were you beasting people in Iowa? What was going on?
Yeah, I was doing the same. I was hitting people with spinning back fist, flying knees.
You were knocking everybody out.
Knocking a lot of guys out. Not everybody. You know, I had a few submissions and stuff like that. But
What was your record before the UFC?
I think it was like 7-1, 8-1, something like that.
Mostly knockouts?
Mostly, yep, comes from knockouts.
Vicious knockouts? Did you have a highlight reel of like vicious striking? Like how did Joe Silva
Actually, my
notice you?
highlight reel is so old because anytime I put something for the UFC up there, they just take it down, you know, so I don't really get a chance. Not a lot of people, everybody probably like YouTubes me is probably like, man, this is old school stuff. Like, where's this? You know, but when you fight a UFC guy, you have the honor to be like, hey, can you send me over his tapes? And then you got all the UFC tapes.
What do you think about that? About how they do? Here's the KO right here. This is the slow-mo version of it. Oh, my God, that shit is perfect. And look at this. Dude, that might be one of the best 1-2s ever. Boom and blam. God.
See,
dude, that shit is ferocious.
That's what I'm talking about right there. When they
That
say
shit's ferocious.
If I like that. I like seeing violence. You know that. I'm a big I'm for violence. I like watching it. But
Fan of concussions.
yeah, but when we're talking about the Rusimar Paharis thing where he held on to tap too late or too long.
See, man, I think he got. I'm gonna get a bit controversial on this. I think he got a bum deal on that because I think what he held on to was barely a second. And yeah, it's fucked up to do, and he does it, but he did it way worse in the past, and I think he's at least a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
I think it's real hard to get that guy to let go. I think when he's trying to tap you, it's some life and death shit.
Yeah.
He grew up on a farm. He had no schooling. He was eating pig slop when he was 13. I mean, I think you're not dealing with a regular dude here.
Yeah, that's a very aggressive behavior to be living like that. I
Yeah.
never heard that about him, but I imagine that's a little bit more of an aggressive behavior than a human.
He
But-
grew up in a very, 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 very tough environment, and but much, much harder than I think most of us can comprehend.
Listen.
I
But
thought myself, that just blows me away, dude. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
he was eating pig slop. He has a giant scar on his chest from when they couldn't get. He had cut open and they couldn't get him medical attention, so they used like crazy glue on it and try to pinch it together. He has a giant scar on his chest.
I agree with you though. I think he got a raw deal because I think that if there's something wrong with what he did, then there's something wrong with what Dan Henderson did to Bisping or what you just did right there. I love that shit.
No.
I-
He didn't get called off, and that guy could have jumped up any second now.
I don't think. Yeah, you know
You
what I
never
did
know.
was bad. Like I happened to land the kick, and then I came right back to my base. I kind of saw him go to get up, which I thought maybe he was TKO because I knew it was a good shot. And I didn't expect it. I expected to land hard, at least like scare him, but he leaned into that, and it was basically off feint. So then when I kicked it, I landed back on my base, and he kind of like went to like get up. Like it almost looked like he went to get up. I mean, it's a short split second that you have to decide. You know, but like I'm a lion, bro. I have a family to feed. You know,
Hey,
as
I
you
love
would,
that. Hey,
you know,
I'm not. I love
Well, you
that
got to
shit.
think about
I
a
love
guy
that
like
shit.
Some
you
people
got to think
may-
about a guy like Diego Sanchez. That's what I think about when anybody wants to stop a fight too soon. I think about a guy like Diego Sanchez because Diego Sanchez, you could hit that dude
He's
with a
a
meteor.
warrior. He wants to go out on a
You
shield.
can hit him with a meteor, and he comes running back at you.
Even more powerful.
Bites his mouthpiece and starts fucking.
Vato style.
So if
bro.
you
It's-
cracked him, I mean, I think that shin might have knocked out any human being on earth. But it is possible that a guy. I mean, Diego's been hit with some bombs, goes
Yeah.
down, and somehow or another recovers.
Oh, I've cracked him before, and we do the same thing.
You thought he
We've
was-
done this in his backyard. There's a
Yeah.
YouTube video of it, and we just start throwing down, and that's the type of guy Diego is, and he does bring that out in you, man. I've had the funnest times training with Diego Sanchez. I owe him a lot, you know, for me being here, getting to the next level. Him and Josh Neer, like one of my inspirational dudes, and I'm hanging out with these guys when I'm young, and when he had a chance to invite me out and train with them, like I had the funnest time training with Diego Sanchez. He's a wild man.
He's a
dude.
real wild man. He's the most, in my opinion, the most consistently entertaining fighter, like maybe ever.
I got a question for you. Who would you rather be? Would you rather
He's
be
so crazy.
Would you rather be Mike Pierce?
Yeah, he's
Would you rather be
crazy.
Mike Pierce
Okay.
or go through what Mike Pierce went through with it? Husamar Pahar. You have to live through it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Or live through what Honey Jason went through.
Well, the thing, Mike Pierce can heal his knee up. He can get
nothing
surgically
tore.
replaced.
And nothing
yeah,
tore.
Nothing tore.
He sprained his knee.
You're absolutely right in that situation. When you deal with the consequences, I think
Who would you
the
rather be?
amount I would way rather be Mike Pierce. Way.
what I'm saying.
But the difference is that he has a choice to let those submissions go. It's not like a strike that's in motion in during the middle of the contest. Okay, in absolute legal time, Jeremy connects with a perfectly placed shin. And then a perfectly placed right hand right afterwards. That is. There's no referee stopping that fight. There's no one. He knows this motherfucker's tapping. He knows the referee's touching him. That's where it gets weird. Where it gets weird is he fucking knows. You know he knows. I know he knows. Anybody's ever put a heel hook on anybody ever in their life knows. That guy was tapping.
Yeah.
He knew he was tapping. He knew the ref was stepping in. He knew the fight was over, and he still held on.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying is when it comes to submissions, right? You see the submission coming. He wraps up his leg. If you watch the fight, the ref is right there. He sees the submission coming. He's right there. He's ready to go. So as soon as he taps, he goes, "Okay, stop," and then he held on a little bit long. When in these cases, the referee is far away. So if the referee was right next to him, he would stop the fight in that last punch.
Well,
He
that's a
wouldn't-
good argument logically. The problem with that is that you're dealing with a choice. And when the guy is holding on to a submission, it's a choice.
No, but let's say
It's not a momentum
Let's say you
thing.
knock some. There've been fights where dude knocks someone out,
Right.
and again, I love the violence. I love it. I'm not saying cut it. I'm just saying you can't knock Rousimar Paharis because it happens a lot. When Dan Henderson cracked Bisping in that situation, there is a chance. I don't know exactly what was going on in Dan Henderson's brain, but there was a shot where he knows he's out, but I'm gonna fuck him up one more time. The ref's too far away to stop that shit.
But then
you know
he-
what
then
I'm
he did
saying?
stop
Well, he
right
actually
away,
talked
though.
It's like
about
he
it.
kind of knows. Like he kind of knows.
No, he doesn't kind of know. He talked about it in the post-fight press conference.
he did.
He said he wanted to shut him up. He
Shut
said he
him
gave
up.
him that last punch to shut him up.
So
But
there's a
that's
lot
all
of-
legal because the
Yeah.
referee, if the referee's not there, that shit's on him. That guy is in survival mode. He's in full war mode.
I agree. I like that. What
Yeah.
I'm saying is what happened with Rousimar Paharis is exactly the same.
It's not. Here's where it would be different.
he
If
made
the
a statement.
referee told him to stop and got in front of him and he pushed the referee aside and still smashed him, then that's happened before. Then it would be worse than what Rousimar Paharis
sure,
did
for sure.
because he's hitting a concussed fighter. And one, the referee's already stopped the contest. This was just a race, and this is in the rules. That guy was talking shit. He decided to crack him. He saw him going down. He's like, you know what, bitch, I'm going to give you one more before the referee gets here.
The
we
referee
all
would've
know what it
stopped
was.
if he was there, but the
Yes.
referee was out of position.
Yes, he
so what I'm
wasn't
saying
in
is,
position.
I know it wasn't exactly the same because I am aware the ref did
Right.
stop him, but it was the amount of time And it's almost like you crack a dude like that, and it's happened a bunch. You know, like the fighter, there have been times where a guy gets cracked, he knocks out, he knocks the guys out, and he goes, I'm not going to hit him again. Stop it, ref.
Right, yes.
You know what I mean? You could
like,
do that
like
too.
Machida did to Mark Munoz.
So there's a choice there. So
Right,
there's still
absolutely.
a choice.
Well, those guys are friends,
Yeah,
though.
but-
Big difference between Machida and Munoz, who are
Don't
friends.
get me wrong. I would rather have the guy get hit one more time. I like
No.
when guys get jacked.
Yeah.
I like when guys get knocked the fuck out.
Paul
I
Harris
enjoy
made a
that.
statement, though. This is where I don't agree. I that was kind of a stoppage, that could have been questionable, but the guy's done it a couple times.
Yes, that's
you
where
know.
it's a problem.
So now they're going like, okay, what the heck? But the guy actually made a statement. He goes, I couldn't feel the guy tap because the referee was on me. Now that's a
retarded he
key.
is.
That's a key point where like, dude, the referee's on you. Like, what are you doing?
Well, the referee's just checking to make sure the heel hook is applied correctly.
He's not putting it in your
That's
mouthpiece.
That's such a goddamn dumb
Statement.
if he actually
and
did
he's
say
eating
that.
pig's feet. So,
It sucks that he got cut
that's
though.
crazy.
He's always
amazing.
You know what?
Scary guy at 170
Scare him
too.
because of he
Ooh.
doesn't really listen and he enjoys it and he enjoys the reputation of being a guy that rips knees apart because he's done it before.
But-
He had to get cut. I understand why Dana cut him.
The
Cut
Dean
him for like a
Lister, though.
year, but you gotta have that animal back. Bring him back. Let
Bring
him
him back
suffer
for
for a
Dean.
year and bring him back. 'Cause he's always a threat to anybody at any time.
Well, especially at 170.
And
Dean
there's no other
Lister.
guys like that. There's no other guys that could jump on you with heel hooks like that.
Yeah.
There's nobody doing
Right.
that.
Dean
So
Lister.
We
Dean
need that.
Lister.
He's his.
Sort of, but Dean Lister was never as dynamic as that. Dean Lister fought in the UFC a few times. He never had that kind of crazy, scary performance. Dean is very, very good. Don't get me wrong.
Class
And
act,
his
yeah.
grappling is world class. He's excellent. But Dean never had that kind of appearance in the UFC where he just attacks someone like a fucking wild animal.
He's very
Yeah,
explosive,
yeah.
and Dean wasn't known. Dean was known as a mauler, like a grizzly bear. He
Yeah.
wasn't known as an explosive
Yeah.
entity.
They were supposed to do a jiu-jitsu match, and I
What
I was
happened with
traveling.
that?
I don't think it went down because I think Paula Harris or somebody got hurt. But I think Dean Lister would get him.
Yeah, Dean's like an intelligent mauler. That's a good way to describe
very
him. Like
intelligent.
an intelligent mauler. He's very technical, and he just knows exactly where to be in the right position. He's strong as fuck. He's a beast.
Dude, he's crazy. He'd always tell me, he goes, because I train with him, and he's always like, no matter what, like even when I feel like I'm like in like a horrible position, and he's like, there's many options here, Jimmy. And sometimes he doesn't even know. He'll be like, go back there again, do this, do that, and like he'll be like, okay. And then like he'll just come up with something like right there, and he'll have an escape for it. And he's such a big dude, but he rolls like 125 pounds. It's
He's a
amazing.
bad motherfucker. It's a real shame that Gene Lister had to go into MMA because, like, if there was, I think there should be a real professional jiu-jitsu on television, like on ESPN, the same way they have tennis or the same way they have
Olympics.
anything else. Just
Olympics.
figure out how to do like an Abu Dhabi style submission only thing, put it on TV.
Jiu-jitsu would be
and
a
it would
good
be
base
gigantic.
for that to maybe to come in the future for like maybe like a UFC event.
Yes,
but
for
I think
sure.
jiu-jitsu and like submission wrestling would be a solid base.
Combat
Yeah, I think
jiu-jitsu.
by itself, just by itself, jiu-jitsu is still very, very exciting. And there's some guys that are just never going to make that transition to striking. It's like we were talking about with some guys just don't get there. And some guys do, like Fabricio Verdum or Damian Maia or
Yeah,
what have
for
you.
sure.
Or Mark Munoz, guys who get better and better at striking and become like a dangerous threat on their feet as well. But it'd be nice to see them just do what they're awesome at.
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
should a soccer player also have to learn how to play baseball? You know what I mean?
Or something right in between, like combat jiu-jitsu is right in between. No striking standing, it's wrestling standing, but on the ground you could punch to the face. That makes it's right in the middle between no-gi grappling and MMA. It's not as quite as hardcore as MMA, but it's more exciting because on the ground there'd be less stalling because you could punch to the face. on
Get
the ground.
sambo guys, almost like it's almost like old UFC without like all like maybe the violence that people don't want to see. So you have like this Russian sambo dude versus this like Brazilian in the Olympics. I think that would be incredible. Like the wrestling, the jiu-jitsu mix.
Yes.
It'd be sick.
If but they would cross train. Everybody would cross train.
It'd be
Nobody
crazy.
would ever do just jiu-jitsu versus sambo. Let's just figure this out. What style is better?
Yeah.
Everybody would cross train. You got to learn other guys' techniques as well.
Or you're cross-trained but not admitted.
Well, you know what's really interesting, man, is combat sambo. Because they're kind of doing MMA, but then they're also doing judo because they have like judo kimonos on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the upper-
that's another in between MMA
Yeah.
and grappling.
That's probably the closest.
That's what I'm saying. That those guys would face like a jiu-jitsu guy because back in the early days it was like a boxer versus this. So if we got this in the Olympics, I think everybody from some sort of grappling would want to be like, okay, let's compete with these people.
Yeah, and the safety level is amazingly high when you think about the injury rates in NASCAR, the injury rates in fucking polo. You know, I mean, dudes get jacked riding horses, man. That shit falls all the time. Horse races, guys fall off, break their necks, get stomped. I mean, how many of those go a year? But you got to know when you've had enough, right?
For sure.
That's probably one of the most important things for a fighter to be aware of. Every fighter in the gym knows at least one guy that didn't figure it out.
Yeah, that's sad. You know, he has a lot of heart, but at the same time, he's kind of stupid. You know, like if I felt like I was getting knocked out like 3 times in a row, 2 times, you know, I would just pay respect to my family. You know, be like, thank UFC for letting me enjoy this. You know, and this and that. And eventually, I would just walk away and eventually open up a gym or something like that. But
super hard to admit that though. The guy's done. They're always. I mean, as much as anybody that there's always wonders after a loss. Like if you'd done something differently, would the fight have played out differently? If you had trained with a different coach, would you have been able to see that coming? If you had done this differently, would that have happened? And those thoughts, they never go away. You never get to a real.
It's natural to feel those thoughts and wonder, because I actually been clipped before, and before that time, I just thought it was almost like a Mike Tyson thing. I felt like surreal in there, like I could just go in there and brawl and just slug it out. Then eventually, I actually went through some community bad problems and stuff, and I got caught by Yves Edwards. He's a great dude, but honestly, I think I could have beat him and I could have played that fight a lot more different. And I was asking myself, man, is my weak chin now? I've been hit with solid shots, but it just didn't land. So finally, I just talked to my coaches. I talked to a sports psychologist, and I just picked myself up, dust myself off. I knew I was getting better in the gym and the progress. It just wasn't there yet. And again, we started lining things up. Everything started connecting a lot better, and I ended up being a better fighter from it. Now, if I was continued to and I still have fun with this, dude. I'm still learning so much. I mean, we could probably roll right now, and I'd probably learn something new or just like a different way, a different route. So I love that aspect about fighting. I mean, I'm sitting here talking to you, Rogan, and you too as well. So I'm all pumped up. I'd have never done this if it wasn't for MMA. So it's changed my life. And the moment I stop having fun with it and stop learning, just like Charles Darwin said, you have to the longest that'll survive was the one to adapt to change. And I just totally agree with that. There's some young beasts coming in the UFC. I mean, Sergio Pettis, how old's that kid? He just looks sweet.
Incredible. Yeah.
Awesome. That type of talent's actually coming in. So you got to be able to adapt and adjust. You can't just be the same stand in the pocket type brawler, dude. That's
what's going to make you great, is that attitude too, the being in love with the idea of learning things.
Yeah.
And one of the beautiful things about MMA, and even in jiu-jitsu, it's like you never run out of things in jiu-jitsu. You never run out of techniques. Now you add striking to that, and then wrestling to that. It's like there's a never-ending ocean of techniques out there.
Bizarre.
Are you working on wheel kicks and shit like that, and spinning back kicks?
Yeah.
Have you seen his videos of him kicking the bag?
Oh, are you hitting spinning back kicks?
Yeah. I used to be. I was a Taekwondo black belt.
You haven't seen those videos?
No, I never seen. I knew you did jiu-jitsu and stuff. I never knew you did.
Yeah, before I ever did that, I used to teach Taekwondo for a living, and won a bunch of Taekwondo tournaments back in the day.
But seriously, I'm not just saying this, and everybody knows this. Everyone used to think I was kissing his ass when I would try to tell people, but now there's video, now there's proof. I've never seen anybody throw a turning side kick as hard as Joe. When he starts.
Is this coming up?
Yeah, you got to look at the way he's teaching George.
George St. Pierre.
I think it's earlier than that.
Show the whole thing.
Well, that's one of the interesting things about George. It's before this, because this is what he's already asking to record it.
How'd you get involved in fighting, man? You have such a good grasp on things, man. I don't even go to bars and I'll order a pay-per-view dead broke and just to hear your commentating though.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
I was a Taekwondo guy when I was a kid. I won the U.S. Open. I won the Massachusetts State Championship 4 years in a row. Did that, and then I went from that into kickboxing. I had 3 kickboxing bouts, but I was doing that all while I was still doing stand-up comedy. And then I had to figure out what to do because I was starting to lose. I lost my last fight, and I knew I lost because I wasn't in good shape. I was fucking around too much and doing comedy. I wasn't focused. Yeah. I knew I wasn't training like I was when I was younger. So I had to make a big decision. My big decision was abandon all that whole world and just throw myself into comedy. Plus, there was no money, man. There was no UFC. There was nowhere to go. And then, I went from comedy. I was on a television show called News Radio. And from News Radio, I watched the first UFC. When I was there, it was like, I first saw it in I think it was probably 95. I probably caught it
Old
a
school
year or
days,
two
so.
after it had started. I had heard about it. And I watched it on a VHS tape. I don't even think I watched the first one. I think I watched UFC 2. Because I think the first one wasn't available for some reasons. There was some copyright issues or what have you. I don't remember what the exact reality was, but I remember watching Hoist Gracie strangle the fuck out of everybody going, oh my God. I felt, first of all my years of Taekwondo, I was like, oh, I'm helpless. I thought I was just going to kick dudes in the head, and then I'm like, I didn't even realize a guy could just manhandle me like that. Yeah. So I went to Carlson Gracie's place in 96. I started training there. That was back when Vitor was making his debut. They used to call him Victor. They used to call him Victor Gracie. When I interviewed him on UFC 12, I called him Victor Gracie.
That's crazy.
That's what everybody called him. And then he was getting sued by Horian or something like that, so he had to drop the Gracie name, but he was taking it because of Carlson. So that's when I started, and then I met Eddie in probably 98. I started Jean-Jacques.
97.
97?
Yeah.
I met Eddie around there, and I started smoking weed about 99.
No, 2001.
Was it 2001?
This guy knows you.
It was before Fear Factor, though.
Yeah, that was before Fear Factor.
Was it? But Fear Factor was 2001.
Yeah, you had a calm demeanor on there when I remember this one time because I knew you were
Maybe it was 2000. Maybe it was 2000.
Big fight guy, and then this the way there was this guy having this attitude and this crazy, and you're like, whoa, bro, chill out, and the guy tried to come at you.
Fear Factor one.
Yeah, and you just had a calm demeanor, and I was like, man, Joe's a pretty cool dude. You could just tell man, Joe would have messed him up actually, you know.
Well, that guy, I was told about him before we ever did the show. They were telling me that this guy's a kind of a loose cannon. He had attacked a counselor on one show, and he had threw his wife to the ground on another show. He was kind of.
Why'd they allow him in the show, man?
Because it's fun.
TV.
It's exciting. You
never know what's going to
They
happen.
knew. It was worked. Him and his wife were fucking screaming at each other. They were screaming, "You fucking stupid bitch!" It was they was really entertaining because it was the most dysfunctional and violent relationship I've ever witnessed without being there. These motherfuckers screamed at each other in swears. And all the time, while this is going on, there's this little dude, Johnny Fairplay from Survivor, who's fucking hilarious. The whole time they're screaming at each other, "Where's the fucking flashlight? I gave you the fucking flashlight. Where's the flashlight? Fuck you!" They're screaming at each other.
Damn.
Johnny Fairplay is yelling at the guy about the wife, telling him, "You don't need her. She's dead weight. She's ruining it for you." He's like, "You don't need her, Jonathan. She's dead weight. She's ruining it for you." And he would say that about her. He would say that about him. He was just constantly heckling. "You guys got this wrapped up. You guys got it wrapped up. Fuck you. Shut up." So she comes back and immediately punches this guy, Johnny Fairplay. I mean, fucking punches him hard in the stomach. And I said, "Hey, just because you hit your husband doesn't mean you can hit other people. You can't just hit people."
Yeah.
And so then he got in my face. I thought he was going to hit me, so I just grabbed him. It was I pushed him away a couple times. They didn't show that. And then next thing you know, I got him in the plum. I just held on to his head. Don't show this, man. I don't want to.
Yeah, pull it up, dude.
No. It was so stupid. It was so stupid.
So
No, you just tell that dude was a straight hothead, and the way you handled it, I was like, man, this guy obviously has some type of martial arts, self-control, you know?
So
That's
you working on lead leg sidekick like Conor McGregor? You ever do that one?
Oh, I mean, that's been around a lot more since Conor McGregor. I want to give him the credit for it, but I mean,
Chris
I work
Hazeman, remember way back?
Yeah, not too many people. Who else
I watched some
besides
old
Conor McGregor?
Ernesto Hoost, all
No, I'm
types
talking
of-
about an MMA. Who was throwing that lead leg sidekick?
John
John
throws it a
Jones
lot.
did it.
John Jones does it to the knee, which is a very
John dropped Vitor to the body.
He's got a
he hit
good
him with a
range
front
and
leg
he was
side
like-
kick to the body and dropped Vitor. Remember that?
Yeah, it's cool to see that, and I also use a lot of stuff because I train with Alex Gustafsson,
Yeah.
and he uses a lot of real trickery stuff. He'll get hip to hip with you, where you're standing, and then he'll just go hip to hip and then just sweep you, and just kind of almost makes you look stupid sometimes.
He's got
you know,
that Dominic Cruz style down, right?
Yeah, on your toes.
He purposely emulated Dominic Cruz. That's not a coincidence, right? That they move the same.
I just think he was just light on his
Same
feet.
coaches.
You
Yeah,
can't,
but-
you
no,
can't
that's what I'm
stand
saying.
in
They
front of. Yeah, for sure.
because he is doing that dance.
Is
that
that
Dominic
Eric?
Cruz.
Is that Eric Del Fiero's?
Yeah, he's constantly talking about being on your toes, being athletic.
smart dude.
That's
real smart dude.
That's
Very,
a
very
very
smart
distinct
dude.
style. That's very distinct. I mean, shit, very few people can do that. And Gustafsson is pulling it off.
And he's
You
got,
know who
he
moves
knows how to-
around like that but doesn't attack enough is Tim Elliott. Did you see Tim Elliott this weekend?
Yeah.
Got great footwork.
I
man.
think
The
best
kid's
is still yet to come with that guy.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think so too. That kid is stupid strong.
He's from Midwest area. 'cause
Holy
I
shit.
forgot that fight. Was that super prelims?
His first fight of the
first
pay-per-view.
fight. Yeah.
Oh,
Bagutinov.
the two little guys.
Yes.
I fast forwarded through that one.
Good fight, man.
Big puncher, strong wrestler, a lot of movement. You know,
Yeah.
I can see him definitely being a 35er in the future that people are going to start looking after.
You think
him.
he'll be 35? They're fighting 25. You think?
Oh,
he's
he's 25s?
Yeah, those are flyweights.
Oh, he's a big 25er.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know who I'm a fan of the 125 pounds that I really want. You know, a lot of respect for Demetrius Johnson. That guy's obviously talented, but Joseph Benavidez, bro, I'm a fan of that little bastard. You know,
They're
he just
fighting
gets
again.
down, bro. He just throws heat the whole
He's
time.
badass.
He's technical. I mean, he sets things up. Like I like his style, man. I've never seen that dude in a boring fight.
And this is a perfect example of what you were talking about before about someone putting together a training camp. Now they got Bang Ludwig, who's running their whole camp, and he runs Alpha Male in San Jose. No, where are
Sacramento.
they? Sacramento.
Yeah.
Sacramento, and all those guys. Like, look at Chad Mendez. Look at how much better he got from there. You know, look at how much better everybody's gotten from that camp. And Benavidez and Mighty Mouse, they're gonna have a rematch on Fox. That's the main event on Fox.
And then,
from Sacramento.
Danny Castillo, he's a friend of mine out there. He's a 55er. He's fighting a good, talented striker, Barboza. So I'm interested to see how Dwayne Bang and Alpha Male come up with the strategy, you know. Because I like Castillo. He's a good dude, you know. He throws down. He's getting better, and you know now they have Dwayne up there, you know, showing a lot of cool stuff. And that dude's a vet, you know.
That strategy for the Barboza fight, if I had to guess, probably going to be take that dude down.
Yeah, you got to set it up. You
but
know.
Jamie Varner,
he set it up.
Caught him. Yeah,
he set up with a takedown before.
Yeah,
and then he thought he was going to go low, and then caught him high.
Jamie's got that long right hand too. He launches that right hand at you.
Throws a lot of it in it. You know,
covers a lot of distance too. You know?
Yeah. It's like almost like a Koscheck back in the day, but Koscheck would wing his a little bit more.
Right.
But now you're seeing guys like throw the straight right hand and catch guys before they're able to hit the hook on them, and they'll catch that chin sometimes and put dudes to sleep.
Yeah, the way Varner completes that right hand is very straight. It's very straight.
He landed that all through his setups. He was smart that time. He immediately came out, take Barboza down. You know Barboza is going to get up. So what does he do the next time? Acts like he's going to go down. Of course you got to respect it because the guy just took you down. Boom, right hand.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jamie Varner. I love a dude who was a champion at one point in time, was WEC champion, and then went through a bad streak where he was losing the guys he should never lose to, lost his motivation, was going back to college, and then all of a sudden gets it back together again.
He's a vet, man.
And goes world class again.
Cool
You realize shit. What choice do you have? You're going to go back to regular life? You're a superstar. You're on TV. It's right there at your fingertips. You just got to get a couple training camps together. It's right there. Celebrity status. And not waking up and working at a factory or something.
And
what else are you going to do? You got to keep going. You got to look at it as like, you know what? Maybe I won't. You know, if you could look at it realistically, like maybe I won't get the belt, but I'm going to fucking try my hardest. And in the meantime, I'm not going to work a regular fucking job. I'm going to try to parlay this into some other shit.
It's also
you know,
that
right?
They miss the excitement. They miss that you can't. A regular
good
day,
choice by him.
Regular day job is just a slow drone.
And he admits.
I was 18 years old, and I worked, and it was horrible. And you know, my grandfather had told me to quit a job, you know, and I was kind of skeptical. And then I was my old girlfriend at the time. Like I remember one time I had to stay at her parents' house just because I was like believing in this dream, and I was just starting out. I didn't really have much. I struggled a lot, and then I remember her dad was just like, you know, fighting doesn't pay the bills. And I remember just like looking at this guy like, man, this guy's really trying to shit on my dream, you know.
What'd you just do? Okay, it went away.
Oh, was it?
There was some weird feedback. I don't think it was your phone. Was your phone? Was that?
Phone is going off.
Oh, is that what it was? I thought it was a feedback thing. Yeah, man, it's a fucking crazy dream to believe in, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's got its ups and downs, man. And I could imagine like all the crazy crap, you know, Varner and like half these guys is probably like, man, you know, what the hell?
And he was scared to death. He admitted it. He was scared to
everybody's
death of Barboza. I mean, but especially Barboza. That guy's a killer.
Dude, he's
like,
a human
like,
highlight
holy
reel.
shit. Jamie Varner said he was
coming off-
shaking before the
Barboza
fight.
coming off of that Terry Edom knockout, one of the worst knockouts ever in the UFC. That
I
wheel
trained with
kick
that guy a
knockout.
long time ago down in Florida through Hermes Franca, who I was hanging out with back in the day, and we went to the Armory and we trained with Barboza, and I just remember just his Muay Thai was really, really good.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, was this guy fight? You know, like this guy should be fighting here. You know, and I was already in UFC at the time, and I guess they're like, yeah, he's working on his ground or whatever, and he's really good striking, and he's working on his wrestling, he's an explosive athlete, and he's a big 55er too, man. That guy's a beast.
Yeah, it's the weight cutting thing is really fascinating because when most people hear that a guy fights at 155 pounds or you fight at 145 pounds, they assume you're actually 145 pounds.
Yeah, they're like, man, you don't look 145. Like, Jesus, you know,
how the fuck does that work?
Yeah, you know.
Like I said, Tyron Woodley's the best example of that. There's no way that dude looks to be 170 pounds.
It's just dense, bro.
I don't know what the hell he weighs when he gets.
I may
in the
be crazy,
octagon.
but I think him and Hector Lombard are just gonna take over the top. I think. Anyway, that's just what I'm saying.
Hey, you know, that would be an amazing fight. Hector Lombard versus Tyron Woodley. Holy
Dude, they're both American top team,
shit.
dude. Though, you know?
Yeah, they probably never would fight, or they wouldn't fight until it became absolutely.
Hector
You know, then you got
will fight
Thiago
anybody.
Alves coming back, dude.
Yeah.
Thiago Alves, we're probably soon to see him scrap again.
Yeah, I hope so. I love that dude. He's a great guy, fun to watch, exciting fighter, but he's had an unfortunate series of injuries.
Yeah. He's got to
Knee
get on the
surgery,
crossbar, man.
pec surgery.
You know who impressed the shit out of me is Donald Cerrone. Holy shit.
Yeah.
The fight with Evan Dunham, the coolest thing
Holy
about that
shit.
was Evan Dunham, he deep halves him perfectly, gets on top, gets put in a triangle, escapes the triangle, goes right into an omoplata, gets the omoplata sweep with the pass. Donald Cerrone's inside controls, just some amazing, beautiful jiu-jitsu. They get back up, they throw down again. Dunham ends up on his back again, hits him with another deep half sweep. He gets on top, right into another triangle, but this time he finishes him. That was some serious jiu-jitsu right there.
Cerrone's thinking
beautiful.
about, I heard him talking about going down to 145 pounds, and I've actually fought Cerrone. And he ended up breaking my eye orbital in the first round. You know, it wasn't like he hit real hard. You know, and I was feeling his kicks, but it was just a precise shot. You know, Cerrone's Muay Thai man. When he's on, dude. And he's a scary dude. He's a big dude at 155 pounds. And for him to go down to 145, I'm like, man. You know,
I
I
wonder
think
how he's going to do that. He's so thin.
Dude, he is a big dude. If he can make it and reload the right way, and I imagine that he probably will if he has he's training with Jackson, so he's got a good camp and good team behind him.
I don't think he's going to drop. I think that was a rumor. I think I read somewhere where he's saying, no, I talked about it, but it ain't going to happen. Usually people talk about cutting after they lose. He just beat the shit out of Evan Dunham.
Damn, he looked good, too.
Right? Yeah,
Evan Dunham had a brief window. He had a brief window he could have pulled out of that triangle where he's taking a little break there, and that's when he just locked it up.
Yeah. And Evan Dunham is a tough motherfucker.
Fuck
dude.
yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And to tap him is, like, even more impressive.
No, I trained with him when we were out
Really good
for
jiu-jitsu.
Dominic Cruz's camp with Uriah Faber when they were competing on the show. Team Alliance was always over at Drysdale's, and I got a chance to roll with Evan Dunham. And dude, he was ferocious on the ground.
Yeah, he's very good. When he tapped Efrain Escudero, that was a real wake up call for a lot of people. Like, this kid's ground game is very
Gerald
good.
Streben actually called me right before Evan Dunham made his UFC debut. I didn't know anything about him. Just one of those dudes you never heard of. Gerald said, "There's a guy named Evan Dunham. I think he fought. I forget who he fought, but he said trust me, put all your money on Evan Dunham. I just rolled with him all week. The guy has trashed me." And Gerald's awesome, but Evan Dunham. So I thought, okay, I believe it.
Yeah, when he fought Tyson Griffin, one of his training partners, I thought that was really good because Tyson Griffin's real solid on the ground too, and that fight. Dunham just had this back control that was crazy and controlled the fight with just all back control.
Yeah.
So you know his jiu-jitsu's on top point.
Yeah, he's very good, man. I just was completely blown away by how good Cerrone looked. Cerrone was just on fire.
Dude, when he's on fire, he's on fire. You know, I think maybe he had a little personal issues that fight with Dos Anjos, and he just bounced back. You know, and Cerrone's one of those guys who likes to stay active and get after it. So it's interesting to see what he's going to do.
Yeah, fuck yeah, that's going to be really interesting. What did you think about the main event?
Me, personally?
Yeah.
I think Hendricks won. I think he completed all of what the octagon rules are about. You know, damage, octagon control. You know, he landed takedowns. He busted up his face. He controlled the fight. He made it a great fight. He almost knocked him out. And then at the end of the day, GSP won. And that's the decision, but I think a lot of better things are going to come from that because Dana White's immediately calling out these judges and probably getting things going on that end. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I think he needs a rematch.
Yeah, I think you're right about the judges. I think there's also not just the judges, but the judging. When you look at the scoring system that's currently in place, is not that crazy. The judging is not that crazy. It's not that off. At least this fight. But the scoring system's terrible. The scoring system is terrible. It doesn't work. When you can have a round like the second round, where Hendricks had GSP in all sorts of trouble. And that round and the first round are scored exactly the same. They're both 10-9. One way or another on either judge's scorecard. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Those are not the same rounds. One round you had a good struggle that I think, one guy did more damage, but one guy went for a submission. It's a sort of debatable 10-9 round. But the second round was Johnny Hendricks clanging George, has him wobbled, has him in all sorts of trouble, Johnny swarming on him. How the fuck are those two rounds quantifiably the same? That's preposterous.
Yeah, exactly.
They gotta fix that, and if they don't fix that,
that's a big 9 to an 8
nothing's
type of
happening.
round.
you say that, but I think this may at least in some way motivate the conversation. I think if time goes on, if MMA lasts 20 years. If we're lucky, they're going to figure out that the system needs to be overhauled, and this idea of 10 points every round is fucking silly.
Yeah,
we're acting like there's a thing in place that we have to follow for a new sport, and that's fucking stupid.
You never know. There's no consistency with these judges. Like, one thing I did not want to do in Brazil was go to a decision. I was like, if this is close, they're going to give it to him. When I went up and I had a close fight with Sam Stout, I thought they were going to give it to him. I was like, man, you know what? You did everything. I knew in my heart I won the fight. And thankfully I ended up getting that fight. But
close.
These
when
judges,
close fights.
Yeah, close fights. Phil Davis, I thought, beat Lyoto Machida 2 out of 3 rounds. That was a very big controversial fight. And then people were just like, no, Lyoto won. That decision down there, like in Brazil, that's scary, bro. You're like, oh, my God, is he going to get this?
I have to watch that again because I thought that Machida won. I would have to see it again. But he got the decision. But, yeah, that's not a robbery. That's a close fight. The problem with the Hendricks GSP fight is, like, let's say people that are watching it that are MMA fans that may not even train. They just enjoy the fights. They enjoy the excitement of the sport. To them, GSP got his ass kicked.
For sure.
It's pretty goddamn obvious. So the only way he didn't get his ass kicked is if the scoring system's broken. Because to the average person, what is a fight about? Is a fight about touching a guy? Is a fight about putting a guy on his back and winding up on top of him? What is a fight about? A fight is about doing damage. One way or another, or trying to finish the fight. And one guy clearly did that way more than the other guy.
For sure.
Johnny didn't have a scratch in his face.
If we're on the street and that fight was to go down, and after a while everybody breaks it up, and, no matter who's on top, whatever happened, big fight, we stand up Johnny, we stand up GSP, and we're like, okay, we'll give that one to Johnny on the street.
But also, that could happen accidentally. Someone could hit somebody with an elbow, cut him open real early in the fight, and even though they dominated the rest of the round, they looked the worse for Rare. That's possible too.
True. You got to take in hand like what actually went down. Like how was he doing that damage?
Right.
What was he doing? And it looked like Johnny was actually doing the damage, not just he got a lucky punch and his eye got swollen. That could easily happen. But he was landing shot after shot. And pushing a good pace where GSP was even wobbled and he's just laying on him. So I mean, obviously you think. If anybody was not even like a fan or like your grandma was watching, she'd be like, wow, I think this guy's winning.
The most shocked and disappointed guy I think maybe I've ever seen after a fight was Johnny Hendricks Saturday night. He was, Eddie Bravo, his breathing is crazy, dude.
Oh, really?
He's in the zone, dude. He's going to sleep so good tonight.
God,
get in it. You get in it.
Joe, earlier when it echoed and you got mad, it's because I was going to echo his breathing to make it echo. So
that's
Don't
ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
he accidentally talked and then
shit,
he fucked it up. That's ridiculous. Yeah, man. I think that if you look at the scoring system that's in place and how it's been utilized so far, I could see the argument. I don't agree with it, but I could see the argument that GSP won the fight. I don't think he won the first round. Everybody was thinking that he won the first round because he went for the submission and got the takedown, but Johnny did a lot of damage in that round.
Yeah.
He fucked his legs up with those knees to the legs, which I don't understand why people don't count those. Like, what are you looking at?
It's a big strike. That's like a Charlie horse. I don't know if you guys been hitting the leg, or like you look at like one of those slug bugs and somebody hit you. You're like, man, that's a knee hitting you. It's a lot harder.
Just because GSP's not responding doesn't mean those aren't big shots. He just can tolerate the pain. Those hurt like fuck, and those are damaging. They take away your spring. And so, in my opinion, you've got people that should not be judging that don't understand what exactly is going down. Johnny did a lot more damage in that round. He hit him with some hard fucking elbows when they were up against the cage.
Yep.
When George was trying to take him down, he had the single. Johnny hit him with some hard fucking elbows. And then when they were in the clinch, when Johnny was bouncing up and down on one leg, he was tagging him with left
hands.
uppercuts. Those are all really significant. The
Huge
takedown,
shots, big shots.
yeah, the takedown and the submission attempt, it wasn't close enough. It wasn't like Johnny was screaming and beat red and then he gutted out of it. Like you could see him on his back and he's getting strangled. It wasn't close enough. In my opinion, I gave Hendricks that round. And yeah, when I watch it, when I'm doing commentary and I watch it is one thing. But when I watch it again afterwards, that's when I get a sense of what I think actually happened and didn't happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're doing commentary, you're just trying to be entertaining. You're all caught up in the moment, but...
Why do you suppose nothing has been done? I mean, this isn't the first time we've had a main event and a controversial decision. Like, why do you think it just doesn't change?
I know, because the Athletic Commission has to admit that they made a mistake.
Do you believe the theory that like you really should beat a champion?
No.
No. Because there's a lot of those ones with like Frankie Edgar, Benson Henderson.
I don't.
You know,
I think it's an even fight.
And some people are like, oh, you really got to take it from the champion to be the champion.
I can see how you got to have a look, any decision that's close, you're going to have people that see it for the other guy. That's always going to be the case.
Yep,
and
sure.
in that way, the idea of you got to take it from the champion kind of makes sense. That's the only way it makes sense. To convince the people that this is a fair and just decision, even if you're not happy that the guy that you were rooting for lost, you still have to, look at it honestly and objectively. Guy got his ass kicked. That's the fact. You're like, okay, here's a perfect example. Second round of Frankie Edgar, BJ Penn. Okay, the first fight was a close fight. Second fight. The first fight was a close fight where it's very debatable. Yep. Second fight, nobody was debating that. Frankie beat BJ.
Yep.
He beat BJ, period.
Yep.
So I think when you look at...
Outclassed him, really.
He outworked him. He was more motivated. He was in better shape. He pushed a hard pace. That's a fight where, BJ Penn has fucking millions of fans. They couldn't deny the fact that BJ lost that fight.
True.
So in that kind of fight, yeah, I could see that's one of those fights where you're really taking it to him, even though Frankie was the champ at that time. But I think that you should start even. You should start even.
For sure. You got to earn it, definitely, and I think even GSP's face told it all.
Yeah,
and it's crazy. Actually, one of our buddies, Mike Chandler, just fought Eddie Alvarez in a sick fight.
Saw that fight,
and it was just crazy. Mike was just going forward. He's landing takedowns. He's getting out of stuff. And he's controlling these rounds. And then such a close decision where at the end of it, if you look at this, Eddie Alvarez's family looks worried. They're not hugging it. And Michael Chandler's family's like, yeah. And, they're thinking confident, but then, boom, there's this decision. And you're just like, whoa. And you got to go back and, look at things like, okay, what happened? Maybe something I didn't see, am I biased,
Right.
And it's just those crazy fights,
I need to watch that fight a second time. I enjoyed it, though. It was a wild fight. Chandler's a bad motherfucker.
Dude, he's a beast.
So you think
he's like that in the gym?
So is Alvarez.
So you think nothing changes because then that would mean the commission would have to admit they made a mistake?
Yes. If you change things, you have to admit that you should have changed things. So you have to admit that if you were running things, if this is the correct way to do things, why didn't you do this 18 months ago? Why didn't you do this 2 years ago? Why didn't you do this 5 years ago? You've been licensing MMA for so long, and people have been complaining about things for so long, but you've done the same shit over and over again.
Then it's probably never going to change. Right?
That's like the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Yeah. They can't have people that are untrained as judges.
Is it better or worse for the casinos, the people that are taking bets, is it better or worse if there is a logical, reasonable scoring system or if there's a fucked up one? What's better? What do you think is better for them?
Well, if the casinos are on the board and everything is on the square, then the house is always going to win in almost every game, right? When it comes to gambling on fights, they're pretty smart. I'm sure they get really good odds makers. There was a few lines that I didn't like. I gave a few of my friends that were betting. I told them what I thought were good bets and not good bets. But I think that ultimately the experts of MMA you're not going to be able to fool them. They know who's going to win, or they have a 70, 80% chance at who's going to way better than 51%. If the house is a 51% chance or 54%, whatever it is in blackjack, an MMA expert has a way better. If you're gambling, if you were gambling on fights, shit, you're going to be 80%. right?
Yeah.
You think about 80% when you guess who's going to win a fight?
Sometimes I get them all wrong. But do you think there's ever been a point in time in Las Vegas where the people that are running the casinos, who the fuck knows who they are, have something to do with the commission, like they're tied in somehow? And was there a fight, do you think, ever that the casinos made a decision happen because they didn't want to lose a certain amount of money?
That's all speculation. Who knows? I mean,
You think that ever happens?
I don't know. I'll tell you one thing I do know about casinos, like they're not stupid. Like if they catch people counting cards, they get rid of them. If they catch people doing things like, here's a perfect example, professional pool. They've never had a line on professional pool. You know why? Because they had a line on professional pool once. And the underdog was this dude named Mike LeBron to win this big tournament. And so they dumped the shit out of this dude. Everybody dumped this dude, meaning everybody quit. They played shitty on purpose and let this dude win. And they bet all their money on this guy winning. So everybody just had this. Dudes were just driving balls straight into the rail. They're missing the pocket by like inches on purpose. Totally on purpose. Obviously on purpose. Yeah. And the other dude,
you can't deny a casino. It's trial and error, and those you can't actually deny a casino. It's just like people that are like up there that are highly elite people. They know how to make good decisions. Like no matter what it is, they're winning for a reason. That's because they're making good decisions and taking advantage of those people that are trying to cut the scheme.
You think there might be a crazy conspiracy where like the people running the casinos have something to do? Like every now and then they make the call and they go, that motherfucker lost no matter what. If it's close, you think there's anything like that? Or
you gotta wonder about some judges. I don't think you go to the casino.
They play their odds very good.
But someone at the top is like making for a judge to get paid off to do this or that. There's got to be someone with some serious power.
It's the math that people don't understand. That's why those people that are counting cards, they understand a portion of the math. You got to think those people are at an elite level and are always winning because of their decision making. So their science and their math skills are way better than yours. So they can see these small little snakes in the grass, if that's what you want to call them, like little dirtbag trying to just scheme on your money. Imagine if like that's yours, and like you see this little rat over here playing his little game, you just want to go up and like smack him, like, bro, you're cheating me out.
Yeah, but it's not even cheating. He's just good at it. It's so stupid that you can't count.
He caught on to the science of the math. You know?
Yeah, but I mean, how crazy is that? They tell you can't be really good at this. You can't be good at it. You can't figure out how to do it.
They're playing it to the people that are just like, man, am I going to get lucky?
Imagine that, man. It's like only fighting guys you can absolutely beat. Like, could you imagine you'd never get a title shot? Like, the idea is ridiculous. It's not like the battle between the card counters and the casinos. That shit never goes down. It's not really, they make sure those guys can't work. They're like, nah, sorry, we're just here to steal. We're just here to extract.
Yeah.
We're not here to gamble, to actually gamble. Or it's not even gambling. When a guy gets like really good at poker or really good at blackjack, it kind of becomes like those dudes just make money, man. The best dudes, they just make money.
They make a big risk.
Yeah, they lose a little bit here and again, but for the most part, they wind up ahead. There's a lot of those guys that are like professional gamblers.
What happens? Do these guys just get funded, or are they just playing in a basement? Where do these dudes come from? It's crazy because like next thing you know, you just see this guy on TV. You're like, man, does this guy even know anything? But all of a sudden, it shows like the chip or the money count, and you're like, this dude's.
Well, think about it this way.
It.
Think about how much money it would, how much time and effort you put in to get really good at MMA. Now think about someone who's doing the same thing with card counting or with poker.
Yep.
They're just constantly playing moves over there. You ever see like poker dorks talk? You ever like have a poker dork conversation with people where they start talking about night? I had 5 night and he pulls king 6 and I flop with him.
It's like a pig Latin.
I don't know what the fuck you're saying, but to them it's almost like a chess thing. They're going over the moves. They're like, oh, I see. Well, why didn't you fold? Like why didn't you why didn't you this? Why didn't you this? And they're going over positions. And I got a bad roll of the cards, and
I believe in the bad roll of the cards though. You ever sat down like on like a. What is it, like a blackjack table, and then that person's always hitting when they shouldn't be hitting or not hitting, and you're just like, I got to get up. I just lost $75 to realize this guy's an idiot, and he's messing up the whole table, but you get on that table, and you're just hitting, and you're rolling, you're slapping high fives with some person from Arizona you don't even know, and you're just killing it, so it's crazy.
Explain that to me. How does it hurt? See, I don't know gambling, so if we're all playing, say you, me, and Eddie are playing blackjack together, and Eddie gets crazy, and he just fucking...
He hits on like a 16.
He's got a 20. Hit me! This is a fucking fucking won, bitch.
Say I have like a low card, like I'm at like a 9, and he's hitting on a 16 to try to get to 21 because he wants to beat the guy. You know, you're supposed to let that just pass and let me go ahead and hit the bigger number. Instead, he'll bust and ruin my card. And next thing you know, like I'll hit like 2 low cards, and I'm like, okay, I'm at like a 12, but they're showing like a 15, 16, 2. I got a hit, and then boom, I bust, and it just kind of just goes down the line. But if you get the people that are hitting on the right cards, that'll actually feng shui and flow.
Really?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. It seems like, you know, he's making his decisions, you're making your decisions. Is it just
It's like those
because
Bud Light
you're sharing?
commercials. The guy goes downstairs and they score. You know?
But aren't they using like 5 decks now? They're like 5 decks.
I don't even know how many they use. They use a bunch. They have that big machine that like was like.
So the way you're looking at it is if he gets a 5 that you could have used and he busts because of that 5, he fucked you.
Yeah.
You could have had that 5 and you would have had 20 or something like that.
Yep,
Right?
and he might have, and then the dealer might have busted, and he could have actually won, but he actually hit the wrong card, trying to be greedy too soon. You know?
I think that's not a good way of looking at it. I think that's like a defeatist logic because it doesn't make any sense. Like look, the numbers are the numbers. If you have 15 and you hit, you know what the consequences are. If you have 17, you hit, you're crazy.
There's some good ones that you're supposed to hit on and that they tell you not to hit on. And sometimes the dealer, if you don't really know what you're doing, you're just starting out, and they'll be like, "You sure you want to do that?" You know, but they can't tell you, but they'll ask you and like stop you, which is pretty cool because like, what if you don't know what you're doing? You're just blacked out drunk and you're making all stupid bets to lose your money.
Well, I would imagine too that if you're a card counter, it would actually help you to have someone who's betting all fucking wacky next to you, because you know that he got that certain card. Like instead of like him folding or holding, he actually added additional information into the equation. He gave you like, oh, the 7 just got used, so now you have an extra number that you can eliminate. You know what I mean? I mean, it seems to me that playing with idiots would be beneficial if you had the right attitude.
It could possibly work out, yeah, I guess.
If you were a card counter, if you were a really good card counter, and again, I don't understand how the fuck card counting works, so I'm just talking out of my
There's a
ass.
movie about it, but I still never. It's a hard math.
Yeah,
it's a math to it.
Ed Norton, right?
Yeah, it's a crazy math to it. That just, I
Ocean's
don't
11?
understand it.
No, I think it was no. That's a
Didn't
they
they
robbed the casino. They robbed the casino. Wasn't
There's
that
always
one?
a card counter in those movies, no?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Brad
well, there's,
Pitt.
there's a lot of those movies where the dude busts Vegas. Yeah, figures it out. All these genius. What movie was it where there's a bunch of genius card counters? And they were
There's
all
a
being,
college that they were
Numbers.
going to, and then the guy takes him
Yeah.
there, and then he wasn't
Their
supposed to be in the
professor.
building yet.
Yeah.
You guys want to do this?
Yeah, they all got a suite together and they're rolling around in cash.
Then they
but
get-
it all goes bad, Eddie Bravo.
They
They're
get
better off-
busted. Some fucking.
If you
Mo-
knew how to
off the
count cards,
simple
would you
life.
rob the system?
If what?
If you
knew how to
knew a
count
little bit,
cards.
like say you knew the math, and you just sit down and you're like, you know what, I just want a couple extra hundred. Let's real quick, you know. And then would you sit down and do it, or would you just be scared?
I thought I had a system, but I didn't realize that I was an idiot, and I was going to try to make some money in Tahoe.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh shit.
How much did you lose before you figured out you suck?
Well, it's like
21. Yeah.
you know in roulette, you know, there's red. You could just bet red and black. You could put chips on the numbers, or you could just put chips on the red and black.
Yeah.
So I figured that if you put, if you have a lot of cash, you put $500 on red. If you lose, you just keep putting and you keep doubling it until finally red hits. But you got to have a lot of money to double. But there's a limit. So they already figured that out a long time ago. So they limit you that you can't do that shit. So I thought I had it. I didn't realize that they already figured it out. So I'm in Tahoe. I'm gonna do this shit. I'm just gonna win once, win $500, and then I'm done.
That could be an
Just do
expensive method, though. You better come with some stacks.
Yeah, you
or
gotta have like
something.
$10,000 to bet.
Even
But
that.
then if you hit, dude, that'd be so awesome. To just like walk away.
Yeah, you gotta walk away. The key is to walk away when you get your $500 back. So every
Everybody's
day.
thought this through. It's hilarious. There's always how many conversations have been had across the country? People figuring
I
out
got it, bro.
how
I was
to crack
telling people I
Vegas.
got it, bro. I got it. But I'm not gonna get crazy. It's just gonna be $500 a day. It's a system to get. You could live nicely. Just once a day, you just gotta.
What's interesting, if
An
you won
addiction.
$500 a day, they would fucking kick you out. They'd be like, "Get
You
out of
gotta
here,
keep
bitch."
switching casinos, bro.
Yeah, that's the move, right?
But
if
don't
you
they?
kept winning?
They
communicate
offer
with
you
each
stuff
other.
to keep you in that environment.
Free
That's where
hotel,
they sucker
baby.
You. They're like,
Yeah, they
free
do.
hotel. They might bring some pretty girls over too.
Yeah.
They give you a bottle of champagne. Like you're the man.
I
Next
love
thing you know, you're
Vegas.
broke 2 days
I
later.
love Vegas. I love the idea behind Vegas. Just let people do whatever the fuck they want. Let them gamble. Let
good
it
decision making
stay
there.
open. Stay open 24 hours a day.
Yeah, let them drink, walk
let
down
'em
the street
drink.
with alcohol.
Fuck yeah,
nice.
I like it. I like Vegas. I like the freedom of Vegas. You need people like, yeah, there's some seedy parts about it. There's seedy parts everywhere. If you get 100 people together, one of them is gonna suck.
It's good to have fights there too.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Vegas is.
It's too hot to live, though.
Too hot.
Too hot.
Maybe if you were like balling like Carrot Top, and you had some giant mansion in Henderson, you keep your bitches.
Does he have a giant mansion in Henderson?
Yeah,
Does he?
Pulling his fucking.
Is he rich?
Fuck yeah! Are you kidding me?
Really?
Dude,
He's not like Corey Feldman?
No,
way.
he's
Really?
got a long-standing show in Vegas at the Luxor.
Yeah.
So he's got like 10 million.
Carrot Top has been performing
Celebrity
at the
net worth.
Luxor for a long.
higher than
Don't
10
look
mil?
at that.
I would
Don't-
say it's high.
I thought he was like a Vanilla Ice kind of guy.
No way, dude. Carrot Top has been a successful performer in Vegas for more than a decade.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
been,
he's been there for
killing
a
it,
while.
killing it in Vegas for a decade, and he puts on a great show. A lot of people give Carrot Top a lot of shit, but look, there's people that like the Monkees, and there's people that like Slayer. All right, everybody's got their own thing they enjoy, and if you like that kind of comedy, Carrot Top's a funny dude. And he's basically essentially taken over that entire market.
What
There's
exactly does he
there's
do, magic?
Prop comics. He's a prop comedian. Brings out a bunch of props. They used to be a style of prop comedy used to be a style of comedy. There was like puppet guys or ventriloquists.
Oh,
there was
that's
guys
crazy.
there was guys who would do impressions, and there was prop comics. That was like a style of comedy. It's not anymore because Carrot Top was so dominant. He was so big. He was the biggest prop comic of all time.
Gallagher's a prop comic.
Yeah, but Gallagher's like a fake prop comic. Like
What?
he smashes fruit and shit. It's a little different. He has I shouldn't say fake. I would say he's got his own branch of prop comedy that he owns as well. If you went on stage and tried to smash watermelons, they'd be like, "Bitch, are you fucking kidding me? You can't steal from him."
Yeah.
That's
Nice.
Gallagher shit. You can't smash fruit.
What about Andrew Dice Clay?
He's hilarious.
The man, huh?
Does he still
well-
does he still make a lot of money?
He never
Oh,
really
he still
prop,
does
but he
very
just
well.
had the
Yeah,
swagger
on the
of
road.
just coolness around him. He
He's
just
hilarious.
oh,
We've had him on the podcast a couple of times.
Nice,
We went
man.
to see him in Vegas.
I saw him back at his height live, man. I was a massive.
Where was it?
it?
A big place?
Either Pacific Amphitheater or down in Orange County.
Wow.
During his height.
Oh my god.
And then
He did some insane amount of theaters across the country, like more than any comedian ever.
Really?
Yeah, he's probably the most successful comedian of all time. Like as far as like money.
oh
more
man,
than
just
George Lopez.
cool dude at the right time. He just came through the right era and just smashed it.
He just had the perfect act. He had an act that you could play back. That was the thing about his act. Like you didn't mind if you knew the jokes. It's almost like music.
Yeah.
Like if you want to go see the Rolling Stones, you don't want to hear your new song, bitch. Come
Hell
on with
no.
that new song.
Hell
Go
no.
get it out of the way. I know you got a new song.
You don't want new
Get
shit.
it out of the way.
Yeah.
Three
And
tops.
I want to hear "Start Me Up." Get
Yeah.
back to the classics.
Comedies, you
know?
got to hear.
Sympathy for
Comedy,
the
you got to
Devil,
have
yeah.
new
Yeah,
shit.
comedy, you have
crazy.
to have new shit, except Dice Clay. Dice Clay, what's in the bowl, bitch? Oh! The whole crowd would sing it along as if they were like
The
at a
Hickory
music
Dickory
show.
Doc.
Yeah, it's a different thing.
killed it.
It was a different thing. He figured out something different or stumbled upon something different, but that something different became massive. People wanted to say those rhymes. They wanted to hear those rhymes. Little boy blue. Oh, he needed the money. Hey. And the whole crowd would sing it along.
What's his act like nowadays? I haven't heard of it.
Hilarious.
Dude, he almost seemed like he was just keeping it real.
He doesn't
know,
give
yeah.
a fuck. He's worth a ton of money. He's got a hot wife. There's
though.
very few people that legitimately don't give a fuck. Andrew Dice Clay legitimately doesn't give a fuck. Still smokes a ton of cigarettes. Still wears fucking weightlifting gloves and cut off sleeves and wears a nice fanny pack.
Props,
I
though.
learned
What a
about the
beast.
Roots fanny pack from him. It's an excellent choice if you're gonna get a fanny pack. Roots leather fanny pack. He doesn't give a fuck.
Dude,
He
I
doesn't give
loved
a fuck.
Ford Fairlane. I was such a big Andrew Dice Clay fan. That Ford Fairlane was still one of my favorite movies. I love that fucking movie.
When was the last
man.
time you saw his comedy?
Long time ago.
Dude, we
Next
saw
time in
him.
Vegas.
We saw him about 2 years ago in Vegas. Was it a year ago? 2 years ago? How
It
long
was
ago?
about a year ago.
A
He
year
still
ago?
tour then?
Did you ever ask him about what the reasoning behind that the day that laughter died? What was that about? Like,
He didn't give a fuck. He went on stage and he was like decided that he was too big or something like that. So he went on stage at Dangerfields and decided to just talk nonsense for 2 hours.
No jokes.
Bomb and then release it as a DVD and it did great. It sold fucking hundreds of thousands of copies.
so it was a joke.
It was what he wanted to do. He just wanted to do whatever the
It's
fuck
called
he
The Day
wanted
the
to do.
Laughter Died. It sure did die.
He did whatever the fuck he wanted to do. And what he wanted to do was just show up and start recording shows where he just starts talking. And maybe comes up with jokes and maybe not. And some of the things were funny. Like you'd get something funny every like 15, 20 minutes.
I took that seriously, man. I didn't get it. I was only, I think I was like 22. I didn't get it. I took it seriously. I thought it was just, he just sucked. But he did it on purpose. He did it on purpose.
I think he got so big. I don't think you nor I nor anyone in this room could ever imagine what it's like to be that famous.
Yeah.
And this was famous before the internet, so it was a weird fame. You know, it was like people couldn't believe they were seeing you.
There's a lot more exclusive.
Dude, you're about as famous as you
Twitter,
can get, dude.
Everybody knows
I don't know how you go through life. Everywhere you go, people are going, there's fucking Joe Rogan. Everywhere. That's got to be fucking crazy.
But they're nice, man. People are almost universally nice to me. It's not hard. You know, people go, "What's up, Joe?" I go, "Hey, what's up?" It's not hard. It's not like.
But when people are staring at you at restaurants.
I'm a nice guy, man. You know, if they just say hi, I'll say hi. You know, it's not that. To me, it's just a bunch of people that are being nice to you. If I was known for being like here's a perfect example. If you were like George Zimmerman, you know, if you were like that's that guy that got arrested for shooting Trayvon Martin.
Yeah.
If you were that kind of famous, that would be very disconcerting because you're famous for something horrible.
Or that incognito guy.
He just got arrested again last night for punching his
allegedly,
girlfriend.
son.
Incognito.
No. Zimmerman did.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're gonna run into crazy people no matter what you do in this life, whether you're famous, whether you're not famous. And you know, if you're a friendly person, being famous, as long as you manage it correctly, as long as you don't think it's, you don't believe it, you can't believe it. You know?
You can't, but you have to enjoy it. Like if you come from, you know, you basically worked hard, you deserve it. You know, like it never seems to get old. People are like, man, do you ever get nervous? I'm like, no, man, that's so cool. You know, maybe you inspire a lot of people. I mean, you're everywhere, so people maybe feel inspired and just be like, man, thanks, Joe. Keep on going. That's cool. I mean, you get.
Well, if that's the case, I'm happy to do it. You know, I
sure.
think I've been inspired by a shitload of people in my life. So if there's ever anybody that I can inspire, to me, that's a huge gift to be able to turn that back around. You know,
For sure.
I think everybody in this room is doing that in some way, shape, or form. And I think doing a podcast is doing that. You know, having a podcast is like, it's, you know, literally inspiration in a digital form. A lot of them, conversations with people that you might not ever get to sit down with, and you're talking like, I had Graham Hancock on last week, and, you know, I mean.
Did he start smoking weed again?
Not yet.
Not yet. He freaked out.
I tried.
He freaked out.
I tried.
He was the biggest stoner ever, Graham Hancock.
Well, he was off the rails.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
He was smoking too much.
He was smoking every day, all day.
Yeah, that's way too much. I never.
Vaporizing, too.
Yeah.
So when you're hitting that vaporizing bag, goddamn, you're getting a lot of THC.
Couple hits a day, no big deal. Don't get crazy. Some days take a day off here and there.
And you know what else is good about we do it with someone you like. You know, like Eddie Bravo and I will get together, we'll smoke a little weed. We're never, you know, it's a cool, calm, collected situation.
It's gonna enhance the conversation.
Yeah, we're gonna have a nice time. Some people they're
say
smoking it by themselves, and sucking big bags of that shit.
Some people just trying to get on that spiritual level, man. It could be a spiritual to them way of just chilling out, relaxing. You know?
Fuck yeah, it is. It's a part of the earth. It's a part of the earth we have a relationship with.
If you're waking up hitting the bong, that's too much.
Well, you know what? Maybe you need it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying what you need or what you don't need, but if you don't need it and you're fucking out of control, then you got to deal with your shit. And that's the out of control thing is like a psychological balance. I mean, and as a fighter, I think you probably have the most difficult job in all of athletics, entertainment, sports. You have the most difficult, solitary, lonely, dangerous, crazy job.
I think athletes just in general have that because look at the exposure that we're getting on Twitter and stuff like that. That stuff wasn't happening when Michael Jordan was. So this goes back to what you're talking about when people were a lot more exclusive then because they couldn't get into your day-to-day life as if like, you know, I'm a fan of Joe Rogan, so I'm like, man, what's Joe doing when he's in like Brazil or London or something like that? So they can keep up on you a little bit more exclusively. So then when they see you, they're like, oh, hey.
Well, that's also a different thing in what we were talking about like people coming up to you. Like people coming up to me are universally friendly. Like I've had very few people come up to me that weren't friendly. Yeah. And even if someone didn't disagree with me about something, they'll come up and just start talking to me, and we can have a nice conversation about it. And there's never hostility. But online, when you're dealing with anonymous people, they just say the most horrible shit.
Internet tough guys,
because it's not even a real thing they're saying because they don't really mean it. They would never say it if you were in front of them. Exactly. It's a fake. The words have no weight.
You know what?
To
if
them.
Those people spend half the time off the internet or off their cell phone talking so much, and they use that same energy that they do on this side, but they go to the other side, you know how much more like positive, how much more inspirational, possibly like how much more like ambition they would have, and you know maybe successful in that aspect. But some people spend that same amount of energy as you would over here on the good side, spend it on the negative side. If you're able just to turn it around, it's the same effort.
Yeah, I learned that very early in life, that even though there's a real big pull to think about other people and dwell on other people and be angry about other people and look about their success or compare it to your success, that shit is all flawed and dangerous because it robs you of your time. The time you spend, even though it feels natural to hate on somebody, the time you spend hating on someone robs you of your own time. You are literally hating on yourself, and you don't even realize it. Because if you're a smart person, you only have a certain amount of free time in your fucking day. Because if you're a smart person, you find shit you love to do. Whether it's a relationship you love to do, whether it's a sport you love to do, whether it's a job you like to pursue, you don't have much time. And any time you spend on some nonsense and gossip and stupidity, when you see these gossipy websites and people talking shit about people where you're like, why would you even write that? What are they doing? They're distracting themselves from their own failure universally.
It's amazing that some people, they ain't even on that level. You know, I lost a lot of friends growing up and getting to where I'm at, but it's by good decision making. Some people just don't ever get it. They don't ever know how to flip that switch and realize that it's the same amount of energy that you spend doing bad is the same amount that you could be spending doing good.
Yeah,
and it all goes to the decisions, man.
They just get on momentum. They get on momentum. They get caught up in this wave of hating, hating on people or gossiping about people or talking about someone that you don't even fucking know. Like, how many people have you ever heard like talking about like reality stars on TV? Talking about
like TMZ people, like their job. There's 3 types of people in this world, man. There's talkers, there's watchers, and there's doers. You know, and if it wasn't for like people like real famous people or whatever, TMZ people won't even have a job because they don't know who to go follow anymore and be like, oh, what are they doing now? Or like,
I like to think of when I meet a TMZ guy that he's just a cool dude in a transitionary job. That's my approach. I like to think that right now he's sticking a camera in front of people's faces at the airport, but hey, man, I'm just trying to make some money. I don't know, dude. I used to deliver newspapers. Well, I try not to judge anybody doing any of that shit. But it's a job that exists. It's not his fault that job exists. The problem is there's a demand.
Demand
there's
for
a
it. There you
demand
go.
for nonsense. Yeah. And I'm guilty as charged, man. If I see there was a fake video. Apparently, it wasn't really Kanye West, but it was it was saying that Kanye West was knocking out these people that were paparazzi in Austin. And I mean, whoever this dude was that looks like Kanye West, but it wasn't Kanye West, is just uncorking left hands. The video's been removed. Just bombs on these dudes. And he obviously has skills because he ducks under a punch and connects with a punch. He hits fucking hard and he knocks these 3 dudes out in this video. I watched it 3 times. What the fuck am I watching that for? Like, why do I give a shit if Kanye West is getting in brawls? Turns out he wasn't even. But if he was getting in brawls with photographers.
There's a new thing going around the internet called a game called Knockout.
Yeah.
That's supposedly, I think the East Coast was doing. These like young kids are knocking out old people, just innocent people. They're just going up like, hey, having a conversation. Boom. Just hits them, and they're calling this game Knockout or something like that. And that's just
there
so
should be
bad,
a new
bro.
game called Let's Go Find Those Faggots and Choke Them Out.
Yeah,
that should be the new game.
Break their arms.
Like a squadron of guys going out there. Let's look for these motherfuckers. And
So
can you
sad.
imagine that? You're walking down the goddamn street. You could be a lady, a fucking man with kids at home waiting, and these dudes come by and punch you. Dude, it should be totally legal to take a baseball bat to those fucking
Those kids
skulls.
need to chill out.
They don't, you know what? There's a lot of dumb kids out there that are not raised right. They don't get any guidance in their life. They live in a terrible environment.
They're
They
broken.
They're broken. I mean, I'm not saying you can't be fixed, but goddamn, that is a utter lack of respect for humanity if you just strike someone for no reason for a goof.
Yeah, there's a point where you grow up though, you know, because you can't blame you can blame it on the parents, but there comes a point where you get to a certain point where you're like, okay, I can make a decision for myself to make either a good choice. Like I don't have to live like this for the rest of my life. I can go on and do this. But just the fact that you would use that as an excuse, like bad parenting, and I'm going out and I'm like bashing people. But granted, it does start with the parenting. You know, that's very important.
You know what? And the guys that are involved, because it's one dude. There's like a group of 5 or 6 of them, and one dude just clocks this man passing by. And the people in that group, man, there's got to be one per group that has half a heart and can call the cops and report this fucking bastard before he does it again.
He's a rat?
There's gotta, fuck yeah.
I thought you were talking about his group. So
no, a rat.
He's a rat, okay.
Yeah, come on, that's
We
ridiculous.
need more rats, Eddie
That's
Bravo.
ridiculous.
That's a quote in quotes on
Yes.
a new meme on Twitter.
Yes.
We need more rats.
Goodfellas.
Eddie Bravo.
Fuck yeah.
His whole family
That's
was
a good
rats.
rat right there. Not all rats are bad. That's a good rat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
that's it's an incredibly cowardly move, but it's also like they're looking for some excitement in their life, probably, and it's exciting to do something horrible like that for all the wrong reasons, but still exciting.
How about get paid $100,000, get into a gym? You know, Dana White's throwing out big
Yeah.
bonuses. You know, get some
They
lessons.
don't
That's
wanna-
the real
See,
knockout.
that's the thing that I say to people when people talk to me about fighting. You know, they're like, "Why don't you go fight in MMA?" I go, "What are you talking about? Like, do you understand what fighting is? Like, oh man, you kick somebody's ass." I always say this, like, you think fighting is kicking someone's ass. No, that happens sometimes,
Yeah.
but it's fighting. And everybody wants to kick someone's ass, but nobody wants to fight. Nobody wants to have a John Jones, Alexander Gustafsson.
Diego Sanchez, Gilbert fight.
Where you have, you're letting it all hang out in there. And if that is not your sole idea of what to be doing with your life, you shouldn't be fucking doing it.
Exactly.
Because there's a dude like that out there. There's the Alexander Gustafsson out there. There's the John Jones out there. There's the Jeremy Stevens out there. There's dudes out there that's what they do.
Those guys are fighting for real, man. You're born with like natural talent, like with those guys. You know, and they just made the decision to take it to a whole nother level.
Right.
You know, and you're right, man. You find out a lot about a guy when you hit him. Is he going to just fold over, let me just beat him up to the ref pulls him off, or is he going to take a hit, keep coming back, fighting strong? You know, and that's where that class comes in. Like where at the end of the fight, as soon as that buzzer hits, and they know it's all over, all the training, everything, and they just give each other a hug, and people are just like, man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But those two fighters have they know each other better than anybody at that particular moment. They're just on one. You know, they have so much respect for one another. You know, they're able to go to war, and plus it's entertaining for the fans, and they just see something that's almost priceless. You know.
Yeah, no, it's most exciting sport of all time. You know, there's no sport that gets closer to the raw nature of a fight to the death, of fight or flight, of being able to test your will, your heart, your courage. You're willing to put it all on the line against another person's. And not just in that moment, but in all the time that you spent preparing for that moment. The guy who was more willing, the guy who was more enthused, the guy who was more disciplined, and smarter. All those things have to come together.
Yeah, it's
And now
connecting.
also, you're dealing also like what we were talking about with these super athletes. These guys like Hector Lombard. These guys like Tyron Woodley. These guys that are coming along like, Jesus Christ.
Sergio Pettis, the little
Sergio
20-year-old
Pettis.
kid.
Yeah.
You know, you can name all those guys, but then you gotta think here before too long. There's gonna be some little kid right now that he's gonna turn 18, and he'll be like, nope, this is what I've been training for. This is what I do. And by the time he's 19 years old, could be fighting in the UFC and be one
Like Tyson
bad
was.
dude.
Like Tyson, when
Mike
Tyson first started.
exactly.
You remember those days when you used to watch Tyson on ESPN and you'd see the highlights and dudes would
Scary,
just go
dude.
flying across
Well,
the room.
well,
A body
Well,
shot
now-
to a right upper.
he just admitted that he was on coke during those fights.
No, the later fights after prison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After he had like 300 million people were taking advantage of him, but
He was-
in his
he was
beginner
hooked on
days, he
coke.
was just
It was after, so it wasn't during the
Yeah.
ferocious days.
I think he was saying that it was at. Let's find out. Tyson admits hooked on coke. Let's Google that.
Because it would make sense. Because if you look at his early fights where he's just destroying people, that makes sense. He looks like he's on coke.
I think he was just so crazy, but he had so much power and such a gift. But he would like cry before his fights, dude. Like that's a scary part when you're about to go on stage and you're in the back and you're just waiting. That's the crazy part. Like normally a fight just breaks out.
You know what's funny is you're talking about that one documentary where he's crying before the Junior Olympics where he goes out and knocks the dude out.
Yeah,
with a
yeah,
punch.
it's like a little
Well,
YouTube.
I found out through Frankie Lyles because they're good friends, and he did my podcast. Frankie Lyles, former WBA champion, he said that he was this whole time. I thought Mike Tyson is crying outside. His coach has to come out and get him, Teddy Atlas, and it appears that he's talking him through it, like saying, "You can do this. You train hard for this. You can." Do, and then they come back in. That's what it looks like. But according to Frankie Lyles, his really good friend, he said that no, he was crying because he knew he was going to kill the guy, and it was going to be so much fun. He couldn't believe he's finally going to win this Junior Olympic thing. That's why he was crying. And Teddy Atlas was going, "Come on, it's just like let's go get it, let's go do it, and then we could celebrate later."
Tyson
That's what Frankie
said
Lyles said.
From 2000.
That's insane.
From the ring in 2000 when he fought Lou Savarese, he was high and he was on coke, and that's when he started using a rubber dick. He started using a Whizzinator.
What year was this?
This was in 2000. So this is
okay.
post-prison. And he did test positive for marijuana after a fight in 2000 with Andrew Galata. They fined him $200,000. He said he didn't have a chance to get the whizzer from a member of his team. The dude was holding his rubber dick.
That's crazy.
He said he lost his mind back then. He said that he bit Lennox Lewis when he was high on cocaine. In 2002. All that shit was, I'll fuck you in front of you. I'll fuck you till you love me, faggot.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Which was maybe the greatest thing anyone's
He
ever
was
said
just
to
sweating.
anybody ever.
He was just sweating. He was like,
Come on.
Coked out
That
of
was
his
one of
head.
your bits.
Coke sweat.
Remember that?
Yes.
I'll fuck you till you love me. He goes, do you realize how
you ain't
long
man
that would
enough.
take?
You ain't man enough to fuck with me.
Do you realize how long that would take?
Dude,
I'm the real
That could
man.
take years.
That's old school
crazy,
shit.
dude. He was insane, dude. That ferocious attitude, and he would just land blow after heavy blow, and he'd be like, I just keep punching because he knows he's just breaking you, and those guys would just.
Well, he was high when he was fighting, and he wasn't training.
Yeah, he even mentions he got knocked down before the Buster Douglas fight.
Yeah.
And, in Buster Douglas, actually, that's a crazy story about him. His mom died like 3 weeks before that fight, and he still took that fight. So that dude's just like on like another mental level because that or he would just been really screwed up, but he obviously seemed like he was on a whole nother level.
Listen to this he wrote in his memoir. The history of war is the history of drugs. Every great general and warrior from the beginning of time was high.
Who put that?
Tyson wrote that. That's what he wrote in his memoirs.
You know what? There's a lot to it when you find out the Bushes brought in more coke to the states than all the drug cartels combined.
Could you imagine if we found out that the military-industrial complex is just a bunch of cokeheads?
Oh, dude,
Running the
they're-
world.
honestly,
You know what?
dude? It was
Dude.
Trojan. They call him the angel of the Lord of the Skies. There was this old cocaine dealer before El Chapo Guzman. They called this guy the Lord of the Skies, and my Spanish isn't that good to even remember what it was. But this guy was he was the richest, and probably no one else will ever top the guy, the Lord of the Skies. Well, he basically bought out all the police, all the government, and was paying top dollar. I mean, he was paying
Where did he
a lot.
live?
He was in Mexico.
Oh, okay.
He was in Mexico, and he's flying in drugs to the U.S. and was using all these resources. So there's no doubt in my mind. I'm not disrespecting anybody, but there's no doubt in my mind that stuff is very for sure, and people, cops, governmental officials are getting paid off.
Have you ever seen the Clinton Chronicles? It's on YouTube. It's a documentary.
No, what is it?
God damn. Watch the Clinton Chronicles. It's on YouTube. It's free. It's a history of Bill Clinton, man. And when you find out why he became president and what he did in Arkansas as governor, that dude was 10 times more gangster than 100 times more gangster than like John Gotti.
What about the Bush guy, the family and stuff like that? I
They
read
were all Bill Clinton was working for George Bush. That's
they're all
senior.
tied in. And
yeah.
This family bloodline of Bush goes back to the guy they called Dracula. And this Dracula guy those people that would fight him or try to attack his
Vlad?
that he's like tied into a bloodline of just deep war roots, and that it goes all the way back to that.
But none of them are like Rob Ford. Rob Ford's still on top, the Toronto mayor guy.
Yeah.
Well,
you know
he's the
what?
most
You know what? When according to the Clinton Chronicles, man, all the stuff that the media there was a media blackout at all the shit that he went through in Arkansas. Jeez, you've heard all the shady shit around him. I've always heard
All
that
the
there was a
stuff
lot
about Barry Seals and the Mena, Arkansas.
Yes, but
cocaine
when you
drops.
look into exactly what he did and how it went down, it's like a 2-hour documentary. It's insane. Bill Clinton is, according to this documentary, the Clinton Chronicles, he's a super cokehead. Him and his brother Roger, super cokeheads. They were the ones that were allowing the coke to be dropped off from Latin America, from Colombia. They drop it off. Arkansas was the hub. Mena, Arkansas. Look that up. Google Mena, Arkansas. That's where it all came through. Bill Clinton let all the coke come through during the Iran-Contra thing. They got busted doing this. Ronald Reagan and...
Is there any evidence that he was a cokehead? Like saying that he's a cokehead like that?
Dude,
how
according to
does
this
this guy-
documentary,
how does
according to the documentary,
Who's the documentary by again? What's it called?
it's called the Clinton Chronicles. Trust me on this one. This one will blow you the fuck away, dude. He had everybody on lock, dude. Everybody, all public officials.
That's
You know what I love doing?
Those people, the reason they're in powerful positions because of their decision making and some of the stuff that I imagine that they have to do. I mean, you read about like royalty and this crazy stuff that they'll do to kids for power and all this crazy stuff, man.
Like the Bohemian Grove type shit?
Yeah, but there's even stuff like over in like there's this like in Europe, there's like this castle where they talk about these like little kids that they basically like do these crazy acts on, almost like molestation for like their power and like they're crazy like an adrenaline, like when they scare
Skull and Bones type shit.
Yeah, it just gets way deeper.
Freemason type shit, right?
It gets bizarre, you know. And,
do you ever do you Google like when you see like something like the Clinton Chronicles? Do you ever Google the Clinton Chronicles debunked?
I don't believe those
Or
debunked.
just look at the Wikipedia though.
Dude, those debunked. There's so many people paid to put up those debunked websites. I can't believe any of that shit. I need to see the alternative media. The debunked stuff, that's all the official story of this is what the mainstream wants you to believe. I already doubt anything mainstream.
Sometimes it's facts though.
Man, dude,
you gotta look at both sides.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Times.
fact in the Clinton Chronicles, man. There's some serious facts
The New York
going
Times
on.
called it discredited due to its weak circumstantial evidence and coincidence.
Exactly.
Pretty
That's what, of course they
Washington
gotta.
Post also.
Black helicopters.
Yeah. You watch it. Trust me.
Black helicopters.
Don't if you believe,
Yeah.
man.
Where's the documents?
Dude, it's insane, man. I mean,
I have the documents.
that's
Brian.
official stuff. Like Washington Post, they're bought and sold. Come on, CNN,
and sold.
they're bought and sold. You can't believe.
I'll show you the receipt, bitch. Yeah, some of them for sure. There's definitely a lot of fuckery going on.
Yeah.
But some of those things, you know, the problem with documentaries is almost anybody can make a documentary.
Well, there isn't a
Put it
conspiracy
together.
theoy about Mina, Arkansas. That shit went down. I mean,
Well, no,
Iran Contra,
About
that went down.
You're right about
Yeah.
that, but who knows whether or not he's actually a cokehead? You know, I'd wonder if the dude's doing blow and getting crazy and
Whitney, you know what I'm fascinated with right now is there's so many ex-CIA agents coming clean and talking, man, and there's a bunch of them.
Really?
Yeah. Dude,
Do you ever watch Homeland?
No.
people are gonna start dying in
Great
crazy
show.
car crashes. And
There's a
Great
lot
show
of deaths, man.
that
There's
happened in 9/11. You hear about like loose change and all the other documentaries that we're talking about. Then they're like all of a sudden like this guy died in a fire at his house.
That's huge
Guy-
about
his
the Clinton
family,
Chronicles.
car
Is
crash.
anybody
It's like-
anybody that comes forward as a witness, they get their heads blown off, and then the coroner puts suicide.
You see that
Just
stuff about-
body after body after body, people die.
Tila Tequila, who's dating the Johnson & Johnson.
What happened?
The girl, remember Tila Tequila?
Right.
She was dating, like Baby Johnson, the shampoo and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Well, she was like doing her lesbian thing with the daughter, and well, the daughter had like ended up dying. Well, like Tila Tequila came out in this crazy YouTube videos was talking about Illuminati. Was like, man, these people are trying to get
So
me.
they killed
shut
the
her stuff.
daughter?
No, I'm not for sure exactly.
I really
what's-
doubt anybody did anything but laugh. If they found out that Tila Tequila. If I was the Illuminati, I would want Tila Tequila talking about the Illuminati. I'd be like, yeah. Send her a fucking dossier with everything in it. Tell her everything we're doing, and tell that bitch to start our website.
She was
and-
doing a good job there.
Well, if she started doing that, and then they would go, yeah, Tila Tequila told you that? Okay. We're done here. You would just release all the truths and just give it to Tila Tequila. That's the way when she starts her show, you'd be like, what the fuck? What? Tila Tequila's Edward Snowden? Tila Tequila's Julian Assange? No, it's fucking Tila Tequila. Stop, bitch.
You think? Look there, it is.
That's ridiculous.
Dude. That shit's crazy though.
The Illuminati's using her. She's a pawn. They have the documents. You don't think they can find a better spokesperson for Tila? Fucking Tequila
She went off.
and
she went off the
Coulter and
scales.
Tila Tequila are lovers. Tila Tequila has died 7 times. Sure she has. Shut that off. Stop.
Is that what it says?
This is exactly the shit I'm talking about. If you look
That's
at
a
her
crazy conspiracy, she
Wikipedia,
says.
you would go, oh, okay. Try talking to Neil Tyson or Sam Harris about what Tila Tequila told you. Their fucking eyes are glazed over. The conversation will be done in 10 minutes. Just stop. And nothing wrong with Tila Tequila. She's a very pretty girl. Maybe she's got some good points. My point is, they play. Oh, that's the thing about Homeland. Homeland's an interesting show. It's on Showtime. It's about the CIA. I really enjoy it. It's a fascinating.
It's
show.
about the CIA?
Yeah. It's about the CIA and fighting terrorism and people turning terrorists and soldiers turning on the government.
Does it make the CIA look good?
No. It's a good show. It's a really good show. It shows how difficult the intelligence business is, though, and it shows how much they set things up and they create fake stories and they release fake stories to the news. It's goddamn fascinating.
Really? They go that far?
Yeah. Because you watch it and you go, huh? I wonder what they actually do, because this is purely fiction.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much is actually going on, how much is actual narrative, how much they create. But for sure, they create some of it. For sure. If there's some shit going on they want to cover up,
dude.
they'll come up with a
Operation
good story.
Mockingbird. That's not a conspiracy theory.
How about Operation Midnight Climax?
That's not a conspiracy
You
theory.
know, that's a fucking real thing that they did, where the FBI put brothels in New York and San Francisco, and they got people fucked up on LSD when they thought they were going to get a hooker. And then they monitored them and checked them and did studies on them. These dudes, they were going to get their dick sucked to, like, oh, I'm tired of fucking my wife. I'm tired of my life. I'm tired of everything. But I scraped up $200. My wife doesn't know about it. I'm going to sneak off to this brothel, and I'm going to blow a load. It's going to be glorious. And you get there. Would you like some water, baby, before we get started? Yeah, sure. I'll take a glass of water, honey. And drink a little glass of water, and all of a sudden, do. The fucking guys in the suits come in with the clipboards and the big glasses, and they're freaking you the fuck out, asking you questions. And these poor guys, man, they did this for years and did these unbeknownst to them studies on these dudes. And it was after the government couldn't do it anymore to soldiers.
So they're just like mind warping them and figuring out their mind frequencies?
Just trying to, they were trying to figure out what the fuck LSD did. And for a long time, they thought LSD, when Albert Hoffman created LSD, once the intelligence community found out about this incredibly potent psychedelic drug, for the Western world, it was one of the first psychedelics people were aware of. It wasn't until Gordon Wasson discovered the psychedelic mushroom that people knew that it existed in the Western world. The information, for what have you, even though there's thousands and thousands of years of use, had kind of been lost to the modern intellectual. Well, acid came along by accident. Albert Hoffman discovered acid. And then the government initially, when they found out about it, thought that it was going to be a truth serum. They thought, what we're going to do is we're going to get these enemy guys, we're going to give them acid, and they're just going to tell us everything. Turned out it didn't work that way. It was just, they were too fucked up. They couldn't make any sense. They were talking about butterflies stealing their underwear, and they were madness. It was
they were tripping.
They were tripping hard. And by the way, they didn't know what the doses were. Like, the way I've heard it described, acid biochemically, it's a fascinating description, but Terence McKenna said it best. He said, acid is so strong and the dose is so small that an ant could destroy the entire Empire State Building in 30 minutes. Like, that's literally how powerful acid is per size, per dose. And the analogy would be an ant destroying the Empire State Building in 30 minutes. So it's so intensely powerful, and they were giving these people large doses, so they weren't getting any truth out of them. So then they thought about it and said, well, maybe this is the opposite. This is what we'll do. We'll give it to our soldiers, and then when they get captured, we say, hey, pop this shit in your mouth. You're not going to tell anybody shit.
Yeah.
And they would give them like one of those juice boxes filled with acid. They would suck it down when they were in the trenches, and then no one would be able to talk at all.
Yeah. For sure, they just mind warped them, huh?
Yeah, they mind warped them. Well, they did a lot of tests, for sure, on people where they didn't know about acid. They did those. They did a lot of tests on soldiers, both the United States and the British Armed Forces did that. And they also, the United States did tests on unbeknownst towns. They did these clandestine operations where they took this town in France and they put acid in their bread. And like, people died. Like, people freaked out. They did crazy shit. I mean, they got like seriously dosed up.
Acid in bread.
Yeah.
This ex-CIA agent talked about what he did personally. One of the things that stuck out in his head is in Cuba, they would find the truck route to like elementary schools, hijack the truck, fill the milk. Throw cement. This is what he said. He could be totally crazy in this documentary, insane, but he's saying he's an ex-CIA agent, and this is the stuff they wanted to cause chaos. They would infiltrate Cuba. They wanted to, they specifically targeted to blow up bridges where there'd be women and children so people would freak out. They wanted as much chaos as possible to start a revolution. And in the chaos, according to this guy, they would cause the chaos, and that's when they would come in and take control of the drugs and sell the arms to the rebels. Like, that was the formula. Whether it's a Latin American country, like Nicaragua or wherever, I mean, El Salvador, wherever, that was the plan, is to go in there, cause chaos, arm the rebels, sell them arms, and blow shit up, blame it on the commies, start a revolution, try to assassinate. Again, according to the CIA agents, they're saying try to get the dictator assassinated, and in the chaos, they take control of all the drugs. Natural resources, oil, and selling. That's what the CIA did. According to these guys, that was the job.
Masterminding.
They do it in Asia. They do it in Latin America. They do it in the Middle East. Cause chaos. They want the chaos. And then once the country's decimated, once the economy collapses because of all this chaos, the international bankers come in, boom, and they become the saviors. They come in and save, and then they put in their own dictator, and boom, they have control of that whole country.
So we basically bankrupt them and then swoop over.
It makes sense, right? Like, these are gangsters.
For sure.
These are gangsters. And Arkansas was the state. This is not a conspiracy theory. It went down with the Iran-Contra hearings. They got busted. Ronald Reagan and George Sr., the head of the CIA, is the vice president. They get busted doing this.
JFK and all them.
And they knew Arkansas was where they were bringing it in. And this is not a conspiracy theory. This is exactly what happened. So who was the governor of Arkansas when all this coke came through in the 80s? Bill Clinton. He was the one letting it all happen. And then who takes over as president after George Sr., the head of the CIA, once he steps down after he invades Iraq? Bill Clinton is the president. They're running together. Bill Clinton is hooking up George Sr. by letting him use Arkansas, and he becomes the president. And then you watch their debates. You go to YouTube and watch their debates. They're talking about sending jobs overseas, and they're doing this with their hand. Like, they got this thing, man. This is, I don't know what this is, but this must mean something.
That's a speech thing. That's a speech thing that guys do when they're trying to make a point.
Yes,
they
presidents really like this.
Well, you don't want to do this because this is aggressive.
Yeah.
You want to. This is like you can make a
you can
point,
trust me,
but you're not hitting anybody like this. This is clearly,
I'm not a fighter.
I'm
gonna lower taxes, and we're going to create more jobs.
Put a stamp on.
You hear him talking about this.
Sometimes you can gently do this.
Yeah. And knowing that their main business is Bill Clinton was hooking up George Sr., knowing this. And then now they're talking about the fucking balancing the budget. It's hysterical. It is like pro wrestling. It's like they're buddies behind the scene, but on camera they're pretending like they're enemies. But it's insane. And that's not a conspiracy theory.
This
That's
is
weird.
the story.
He was a CIA agent, right?
1951 in France. Suddenly and mysteriously, people struck down with mass insanity and hallucinations. At least 5 people died, dozens were interned in asylums, and hundreds afflicted. That's the facts. And it was assumed that the local bread had been unwittingly poisoned with a psychedelic mold, which happens. And that's what they're saying was responsible for the Salem witch trials. They said the Salem witch trials, they've narrowed it down to apparently when there's an early frost, when you have a wheat harvest, early frost can trigger the growth of ergot. Ergot is a type of fungus that grows on wheat that has many of the same qualities as LSD. Mm-hmm. So when you consume this bread with this ergot or wheat that has this ergot in it, you trip your fucking brains out.
Naturally.
In a scary way. Because you imagine taking massive doses of acid in your bread.
Even back then.
When your children are tripping out, your children are freaking out, everyone thinks everyone's haunted, and, they just start drowning witches. They're like,
Yeah, that's insane. I watched that on like a Netflix about Salem witch trials. This stuff was crazy.
Yeah, a lot of people just thought that they were under a spell. They literally didn't realize what was going on. So they had blamed this shit on ergot until recently. And now they believe that what's going on was that the CIA there's CIA documents that this guy found while investigating the suspicious suicide of a man named Frank Olson, who's a biochemist working for the SOD, who fell from a 13th floor window 2 years after the cursed bread incident in France. And one note transcribes a conversation between a CIA agent and a Sandoz official. Sandoz is the people that eventually started producing in mass quantities LSD. They mentioned the secret Point Saint Esprit experiment. Point Saint Esprit was where this all went down. So they had mentioned it in a memo and explained that it was not at all caused by mold, but by diethylamide, the D in LSD. So they had injected this shit into this town's bread supply just to watch it, just to absorb what happens when you get a whole town on acid. In 1951, they didn't know they didn't really have all the data in 1951.
I don't know anything about that, but you telling me that, it's like, just makes sense. They're fucking criminals.
Yeah, well, some of them were, some of them are, some of them back then. My hope for real is that the internet provides such an access to information a boundary dissolving thing between people and the truth, that anything that happens from now to the future, or from 5 years from now in the future, everyone will be so accountable for their actions because it'll be so obvious and clear that they just won't be able to run things business as usual. The corruption will slowly morph down to a very reasonable level because it'll all be transparent.
Yeah, like I remember, man, there's so many different conspiracy theories, and you just don't have time to really look into them all. And I remember you being really into JFK, and I never really spent that much time. It just seemed like when someone would tell me it was an inside job, like just knowing what these criminals do, and they're like, okay, I believe it. I just haven't looked into it. But just recently, I've been obsessed with the JFK case.
Oh, it's amazing.
Fascinating.
It's amazing.
Man, to think that all the stuff that I did spend time in, that it's all connected, all from World War II, Prescott Bush, George Sr., JFK, Nixon, all the way up to George Sr. becoming vice president, Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, bam, George W. How did that happen? And then Obama. All of it is all connected. And it all has CIA running right through it.
I would like to play the part of the average person on the underground right now, going, "Why the fuck are they talking about conspiracy theories where Jeremy Stevens on the podcast?"
No, I'm totally.
He believes it. That doesn't sound crazy, right? That doesn't sound crazy to you, right?
I want to hear about training and diet, nutrition.
We do.
Do you take creatine?
We do want to hear about this stuff, man, because honestly, if it opens up a lot of people's eyes to really stuff that's going on, and you bring up a lot of good points, like why aren't we seeing documents like that in school that says, George Sr. was CIA type stuff, and some of these events that were going down.
That's pretty much history. I mean, he was the head of the CIA. That's history, George Sr.
And that alone is, and it's again, that's not a conspiracy theory. It's history. That's insane.
Well, way more disturbing. George Bush being, listen, that's kind of disturbing, but George Bush Sr. being the head of the CIA is a natural progression. Going from one big top office to another kind of makes sense. What doesn't make sense at all, and is really scary, is the Dick Cheney-Halliburton connection. The fact that Dick Cheney was the CEO of Halliburton, he leaves Halliburton, becomes the vice president of the United States, then Halliburton starts getting these no-bid contracts to rebuild Iraq. I mean, these huge multi-billion-dollar these contracts to rebuild Iraq, a war that Dick Cheney is trying to get us into.
That's a tip of the iceberg. To think that that's only happening because of George Sr. When George Sr. and Ronald Reagan got busted, they got busted wide open selling arms to the Contras. They got busted in all the coke, and nobody went to jail.
You think that stuff's going down?
Oh no, Oliver North took the heat. Oliver North took the heat.
I think that stuff is, man. I live close right down. I mean, I live in
San
Chula
Diego.
Vista.
Yeah.
And Chula Vista is, it's real close to the Alliance Gym, but it's basically like Chulawana. And when you go down there, and then like you hear all these crazy like homeland stories about just these drug cartels, this and that, selling guns, where they're getting these guns from.
In Chula Vista?
No, not in Chula Vista. In Mexico.
Right.
They're getting like American guns, and they're able to like, basically like go down there and come back up here, and then they have like state stash houses and just like all this crazy stuff that goes on that you don't really think about, but it's
Even
actually going on right here in America too.
Ricky Ross, he was on your show. He was saying that.
Yeah.
I remember being 22 and I worked with a couple Mexican gangbanger type dudes, and we're deep in the hood and Mexican mafia, and I remember them saying, "Oh, you don't think the government brings in the drugs?" I was like, "The government brings in." I go, "You think we got airplanes? How do you think the drugs get it?" And they looked at each other and laughed like I didn't know. And I go, "You guys are insane. The government brings the drugs in? Are you crazy?" And it turns out that that's real, and that's not a conspiracy theory. That's documented.
You see that tunnel that they found recently in San Diego that goes all the way to Mexico? Super sophisticated.
The one
had electricity, lighting,
air conditioning,
wiring. Yeah, it's a new one.
Well,
they found many of these tunnels. Yeah. But this is
go
the
to big
newest
corporations or a place where they can just pick up their drugs, and this stuff goes down. It's insane.
You live in San Diego. What is it like in San Diego being that close to Mexico? Being that close?
Honestly, you don't even know the difference till you go over there. It's like we're over here paying for like this crazy fish market. Like it's like $100. You go downtown San Diego. You go 30 minutes into Tijuana, you can get the best fish of your life for just dollars. So it's a lot cheaper. But the culture is way different. There's a lot of different things. Like San Diego has a way laid back vibe. Everybody's cool. It's like nothing going on. But realize that like a half hour away, there's shootings every day that's going down, and like just their buildings look a lot more ghetto, and just the way they live. You almost, when you go back and you have that type of experience being over there, you almost just appreciate going to a clean neighborhood, driving by.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So what is it like being that close? Do you ever think about it? Do you ever hear about it spilling over?
Yeah, you hear about kidnappings. You hear about
Really?
you hear a lot. You hear a lot of stuff. And then like sometimes there's like helicopters flying. Like, have you seen this guy? Whatever. Blah 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 blah.
So kidnappings, because it's easy to get back into Mexico.
Yeah.
Getting back into Mexico is like
human
that.
trafficking, man. The drugs, people that are stuff that people are making movies on and making millions of dollars. That's all cool, but that stuff really goes down.
Right.
There's a big war on drugs, and like you said, that you hear about people like governments funding and this and stuff. I mean, where do you think they're getting these type of guns and this type of muscle? Because the drug cartel will basically they'll buy like say Joe Rogan, you're like an Army general guy, and you know some secret stuff on weapons, and you're only getting paid $100 a week to feed your family, and they're like, tell you what, we're going to pay you $100,000, we're going to put you and your family in a house, whatever, but if you mess up or if you do anything wrong, we'll kill you, your whole family, and then some. So they'll take like head corporate people that know how to build they'll build like submarines. They'll get these people in the jungle that know how to build this stuff, and then they'll submarine hundreds and millions of dollars of drug cartel, and it's insane. And this stuff actually goes down.
I wonder if can you imagine if there was like a map, like an overlay of the United States, where you could just theoretically watch like a highlight of all the cocaine boats that are coming in on a daily basis.
But
there's a big shipment right there, Joe.
Could you
As
imagine
crazy as that is,
that the law enforcement couldn't see it, but you could see it?
Law enforcement gets paid off not to see it, or they do, or they don't.
well, as crazy as that is, and that all does exist, all these cartels are real, according to these ex-CIA agents and all the stuff that was going on in MENA, that's a small, tiny fraction compared to what the CIA is dumping in. They're bringing in giant fucking military planes filled with tons and tons of coke. And then every now and then they'll bust a little cartel, put it on the news, and say, hey, look, we're doing our best to stop this.
Watch The Lord of the Skies, that documentary like you're talking. I'm going to go home and watch that Clinton Chronicles, but I'm not for sure the Spanish word of it, but check out The Lord of the Skies. That guy was the most biggest, powerful drug dealer. And there's another guy down there right now that's coming up, but no one says that there's anybody like this guy they called the Lord of the Sky. This guy.
I wonder if it's Barry Seal.
This guy funded the whole government, and the government was protecting him. He was buying police.
That's Barry Seal. That's got to be Barry Seal. He's the most famous, biggest
No,
CIA.
you're talking about a guy that's alive now.
No, he's dead. I guess like he came over here for surgery, like in San Diego, and like was into plastic surgery to change his like look. Like he's like Iran type crazy stuff, and he died like during a surgery. That's supposedly, but then there's like conspiracy theorists that are like, no, he didn't die, he escaped. Because I'm sure you heard of El Chapo Guzman, who escaped from a high security prison.
Escaped in quotes.
Escaped a high security.
Yeah, you got billions of dollars, man.
Billions, and that's funny. That's
How about?
crazy.
Have you seen the documentary, The Two Escobars?
No, I haven't.
Dude, you got to see The Two Escobars. One of the greatest documentaries
Eddie
ever.
Bravo fucking is in his glory. You see how he picks up when you're talking about conspiracy theories?
Well, this is about Pablo Escobar. But this it has nothing to do with conspiracy. This is one of the biggest drug lords ever, Pablo Escobar, and it's about him and how he got involved with soccer in Colombia and how he
almost became political, but then there was a backlash of the things that he was doing because they loved him like a god down there. Like he was feeding the poor, like he was doing this crazy stuff with like his drug money.
Yeah.
But he just didn't want anybody messing with his family. But he was feeding the poor. He was doing so much for politics. Well, there was a lot of killing going on, which is involved in drugs. A lot of families were dying. So then there was a big retaliation toward him and the things that were going on. So then like the politics like cut him off. I was like, look, we can't be associated with that. Not like if people know you like this. So they cut him off.
That's it right there.
Yeah, what he did,
Spoiler alert.
They wanted, he was, obviously he was helping the poor and he was building houses and he was really into soccer, building little soccer fields all over the ghettos, and he raised badass soccer players. That's why Colombia ended up going to the World Cup, because he raised them. All the guys on the Colombian soccer team that made it to the World Cup, I think was 93. They're like, why is Pablo Escobar in the audience? Why does he have like VIP? No one really knew. They just thought he was when you looked into it, he knew all those guys. He raised them up as kids. He was really super into soccer.
Have you ever had anybody try to get you to dump a fight? Have
Dump
you
a
ever had
fight?
like some Pablo Escobar type gangster dude who bet a lot of money?
You
on
can't-
you?
You
No,
can't
but I
say
have an
us.
infatuation because I was like, I'm always into like conspiracies. I watch your stuff and I always like just pick and choose and like I get into stuff like that. But one thing that's always interested me and I've never been involved in is just drug cartels. I actually, I grew up from a family where there was a drug problem in the household, and which is the reason why like I kind of lived poor and in the ghetto and stuff like that. So then when I hear about like these drug cartels and these big billionaires that just come from nothing, these guys come from like you'll hear them talk about being poor, helping their parents farm. And they never wanted to live like that. They wanted to live large, and they had these dreams of just envisioning this stuff. And like on their way up, they got to do some crazy things to get heavy wears the crown, they say. So it's crazy some of their stories and interesting facts and I kind of like it, So
Yeah, the U.S. wanted to extradite him and throw him in jail in the States for all the shit he was doing. And Pablo Escobar went to the government and said, "I want you, if you rewrite the Constitution or rewrite the law that says I cannot be extradited, I will go to prison here. I will. You can have me in prison."
And build his own.
And then they said, "Fuck that!" And they fought. He killed a lot of politicians. There was like wars on the street, and there was so much bloodshed that they finally said, "Okay, we are changing the goddamn law. Now go to jail." So he goes to jail, and meanwhile, that whole time he built the jail. He set it up. He had nightclubs in there, tunnels to escape. They had no idea that he went to his own jail. He was leaving anytime he wanted. This is all in the documentary.
Can you imagine that?
He built. So when they finally figured it out, because they arrested his rival drug cartel. They send him into prison, and he was right there in his own prison. So they murdered him. So once they find out that they figured out that, oh shit, he's running this jail. They went there and he was gone, dude. He had escape tunnels, dude. He had a nightclub there. He had his soccer fields. He ended up dying later, but
they chased him down, right, and killed him, assassinated him.
Yeah.
Apparently, Colombia is awesome now. Apparently, Colombia, like the drug problems, like a thing of the past. It's like a nice, safe place to be. It's interesting, man.
Colombia's crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting how that can.
I have a hot box out there, 10th Planet Barranquilla.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those guys are savages.
Isn't it interesting that places can go and come, and I wonder what the fuck's gonna happen in the future of Mexico? Because when I was a kid, man, Mexico was a badass place to be.
Yeah, you could go over there a lot easier.
Yeah, you go to Cancun. People always went to Cancun. Everybody, you never heard anything about violence in Mexico. Mexico was like a nice, chill place. You thought of people with fucking margaritas chilling on the beach. You didn't think of dudes cutting dudes' heads off.
I was worried.
Yeah, there's still beautiful places. Like, not saying that's like bad. Sure. Mexico has some pretty cool ancient stuff like over there that like line up with the stars.
Shit.
So I'm not dogging on Mexico by any means. Mexico, they're very humble people. You ever notice that Mexican people will always take care of you. Mm-hmm. You can you go to a Mexican family's house. You're eating good food. Their manners. They're trying to take care of you.
Very family oriented.
And you're a quarter Mexican.
I'm a quarter Mexican. My girl's 100% Mexican, so I come from a Mexican background.
Nice.
Yeah, I love it. They take care of me.
Great Mexican fighters, man. You want to talk about one nationality that has produced incredible boxers?
Eric Perez looked pretty good, huh?
Fuck yeah, he looked great.
Yeah.
He looked like he's improving for sure.
Cain Velasquez, dude.
Yeah.
That dude, oh my God.
Well, he was born in America, son. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Finally, we got a Mexican heavyweight
He's
champion.
American,
Couldn't do it in boxing.
Son. American. Born here is American.
Chael ever fought him, he'd tear him doing pretty good, I imagine.
About being from America?
Chael, son.
I don't think he would mind knowing what kind of a beating he's going to give Chael at the end of it.
How do you think Cain Velasquez would do in boxing?
Oh, who knows? I mean, he would have to get really good at it. There's a big difference, man, between a guy like let's say Andre Ward. You see Andre Ward's fight this weekend? Mm-hmm. He fought this dude who was a serious knockout puncher. I forget the guy's name, but Andre Ward just boxed circles around him and it just cracked him, hit him with some big shots. Basically dominated him. But this guy was a badass fucking boxer.
Yeah.
And he's a really high level boxer. This guy was undefeated, a big knockout record. There's a big difference between a guy that's good at boxing and MMA, when there's all these other techniques, especially a guy like Cain, who's such a great wrestler. I mean, his
fluent,
game, his game is all about transitioning from striking to takedown to striking. I mean, if a boxer wanted to fight him in an MMA bout, he would kill him. But he would have to really absorb the game of boxing to compete as a boxer.
Who do you think has the best chance to beat Cain?
Damn, that's a good
Dude,
question.
I don't know, man.
Alistar?
No, he's been knocked out. I think Travis Brown's coming up.
Yeah, Travis
I like
Brown's
Travis
tough.
Brown.
But he's got to get through
He's-
Josh
he's-
Barnett, though.
That's
And that's
maybe
it. Only Josh
could
Barnett.
catch him with a submission or something.
That would be a guy that would eventually,
You think
question
Josh
Kane
can
over-
take Kane down?
Who knows? Most likely, no.
What do you think?
You know,
I don't know, but I think
you
he
never
could
know.
keep good range and be able to wrestle him off him, then maybe take him down. Who knows what Josh Barnett's gonna show up? This guy, he's dealt with a lot of past stuff, but I think when you get back into UFC, especially not at this time, I think he might be rejuvenated. In this fight with Travis Brown is a huge fight. Travis Brown is definitely a young, talented dude on his way up. He's hungry. I know he's working
dangerous.
hard. So these two are really gonna set the standard. Who wants to take it to that next level and go up there and challenge Kane for that belt?
That's
So
a great fucking fight, man.
Huge fight.
Especially coming off
Huge
that
fight.
Alistair fight. Let me tell you something, man. There's not a lot of heavyweights on the planet that would have withstood that beating that he took in that first round from Alistair
those
before he
knees
got
are
up.
insane, dude. If I got kneed like that, bro, I'd just be like, give me a second.
His knees are so much harder than everybody else's.
He throws
He's
them so different,
terrifying.
unlike anybody. He's like 1-2s you, and then just bombards you with this knee.
They're ruthless.
It's crazy.
And it's like getting hit over and over again with a battering ram.
Yep.
But somehow or another, Travis Brown gutted through that shit. Literally. Gutted
Yeah.
through it. He's amazing.
Yeah.
And then
You know,
got up and front kicked him in the face in the same round. I mean, crazy.
you know what, man? If you get kicked in the face one time, you'd be like, okay, you got me. I'm still up, if you're still
Right.
conscious. But he kicked him in the face like 2-3 times, and he was just leaning toward it. I was like, dude,
I
move.
think he had just shot his wad.
What, dude? He
Just shot
blew it everywhere,
there
man.
was nothing left.
Dude, those
He
front snap
unloaded.
kicks, those snap kicks to the chest and to the jaw.
They're no joke, man.
Yeah, you're seeing them a lot now. You didn't see them 2 years ago.
How about all the
Are you throwing
wheel
those?
kicks?
Are you
Dude,
throwing those front snap kicks?
Honey Jason, this last fight, tried to throw him at me, and I was like, whoosh. And I was like, hold up, they're deceiving because all of a sudden this guy. I normally look at the chest when I fight because I can tell where his hips are going to be. I can see his base and I can see his feet and I can see where his hands are lined up. So I know I want to keep good range. But those kicks, they're deceiving because you got to raise them with your knee. So it's like your elbow going through first to hit like a baseball. So the elbow always leads just like the knee. So the knee pops up. You don't know if he's throwing like maybe a fake back knee, but it happens so quick and it pops right in your face.
Yeah.
And it's quick. It's like
Isn't
a
it
baseball
amazing
bat.
that we've gone this long in the UFC and we just figured out this old basic ass karate
Karate
kick is
kick.
actually really useful.
Dude, and it's
We went
devastating.
years where nobody
Super
practiced
useful.
it. Nobody. I bet MMA gym after MMA gym was that their striking coach was telling their students not to throw those. Oh, those don't work.
It's
Time
an
after
interesting
time.
thing when you see how much of a follow the leader thing is going on in MMA because
Yeah.
a guy like Anderson lands that front kick and knocks out Vitor, and the whole sport changes
Yeah.
overnight. Everyone's throwing front
Josh
kicks.
Thompson's throwing them like a motherfucker. He
Anthony
keeps them.
Pettis is throwing crazy kicks, throwing
Yeah.
crazy knees. That dude just comes.
I
up with
think
stuff.
I think we know now that these crazy kicks do work. You just got to have good bounce and good wrestling, and you got to make sure that if you get taken down, that you could pop right back up, or you have good jujitsu.
Gotta be willing
If
to
that's
take
all
the
you
risk.
had, the only reason they weren't working is because the only people that knew how to throw them didn't know how to fight on the ground. So
Yeah.
we went through a dark period where we have to take away these techniques. Are going to disappear for a while until the wrestling and the striking merge as one.
It's just so interesting to see these guys that are coming up that are throwing these games, throwing these techniques at people that you never saw, like Vitor landing that wheel kick on Luke Rockhold.
Dudes are throwing wheel kicks all the time,
All
like
the
it's like a
time
jab.
now. Yeah.
You know, it's good to even throw. I'm no striker, but in my opinion, it just seems that if you at least throw them, even though they're hard to land sometimes, but you throw them, it takes a guy off his game. It's like, oh, this guy's willing to throw these motherfuckers.
Yeah, it
so
tells you-
kind of.
You see Jorge Masvidal and Rustam Khabilov?
I saw the fight, but don't remember it.
Khabilov wheel kicked him in the neck, like out of nowhere. I mean, Khabilov is
And
a
you knocked him
fucking
out?
No, rocked him though, had him badly
Yeah,
hurt.
yeah.
Masvidal can take it, man, but he caught him in the neck with a wheel kick, like out of nowhere, Like the dude's a straight grappler
That's
with
what
some
catches.
strikes.
That's what catches him is people willing to take the risks. A lot of people have a lot of good arsenals in their tools, but they're in the fight, man, they'll just stick to the basics. They're not willing to risk it. But those people that when somebody throws something spinning at you, you almost look at them like, all right, bro, this guy wants to risk everything. Okay, I like that. Let's get after it, So you're willing to throw down, okay, this guy's willing to risk trying to knock me out. Now I got to risk something. But if you just sit back and let it happen, and you're not really taking any risk, you're not really getting any reward either.
You know, one thing I want to say about GSP is, yes, I think he lost, and yes, it was a bad decision. You just look at his face, but I admire GSP for going forward, sticking to his game plan. He was throwing down the whole time. He was going forward. He got rocked and he backed up a little bit, but generally in that fight, he was throwing head kicks like a motherfucker. He was throwing big right hands. He's a true warrior, man.
He's a proud champion.
And it seemed like it really seemed like after the first round he already started gassing. He was breathing really heavy, but he kept going forward.
But he got hit hard, man.
Yeah,
Hey, I kind of felt bad for him in the press conference. You know, there's no taking away GSP that he's not a gamer, that he's willing to do what it takes, and he almost seemed like he's just like, man, you know, he doesn't really care. He's just like, man, I left it all out there for you guys. Like, what do you want me to do? You know, I'm not a judge. I'm a fighter. I went in there, dude. This dude who Johnny Hendricks just throws some serious bricks. He's hitting me in the freaking face. Yeah. Of course, you know, but he did fight through, and he did finish the fight. He didn't give up at any point.
Does that bother you, man? There's a lot of insensitivity in how people view fights and fighters after fights happen. I mean, I've seen guys come up to people and say rude shit to them. Like, what happened, man? Why'd you get knocked out? Like, I've seen guys say that. And it's just like Rashad Evans was talking about some dude who came up to him at an autograph signing and tried to get him to autograph a picture of him. You know that famous picture of him after Machida knocked him out?
Yeah.
Oh.
The guy stuck in his face, like smiling, laughing. Hey, man, can you autograph this? And, you know, Rashad crumpled it up and told him to get the fuck out of here. Like, there's that rudeness and not respecting the fact that this guy, they think that just because he gets paid for it, he should be able to deal with your douchebaggery.
Yeah,
it's, hey, man, he's in the public eye. He's in the public eye.
This is classless attitude, man. That's just horrible.
Well, sports fans are used to talking shit about athletes. They've always done it with baseball players. They've always done it with football players. You know, I mean, that's a big part of a basketball game is people behind the basket talking shit to the player while he's shooting a three-pointer. You know, talking shit while he's on the free throw line, giving him those fucking things, like blocking him in front of his face.
I think that's funny.
It is kind of funny, but there's a difference
That little
between.
devil, like right here, just on your shoulder.
I think they need to understand and appreciate the difference between the loss in that sport. That's a shitty feeling to lose a basketball game, and a loss in an MMA fight, which is a life-changing proposition. Now you're in a completely different category as far as your expectations for your future. Yeah. You have to rebuild. You have to regroup.
You have to really think. Like the other day when I actually was in the float lab, and actually, by the way, I got some shirts for you in the car from.
How'd you like that? That
was amazing, and you're talking about like this journey that people deal with. Like people use a lot of meditation, and I thought that float lab just like, I just redid my finances. I just redid my whole entire life. And then I just went on this freaking trip where I felt like something was pulling me out of things, and I was just dealing with so much out of there, you know, like mentally. And I just think that some people, you know, like when you get setbacks like that, some people dig deep and come through some groundbreaking news like in their mind where they'll change, but then some people just stick to that pattern and end up falling off, you know.
Yeah, well, there's, you know, the reality of self-examination is that you don't always like what you see. And you can either change it or you can just ignore it because it's too much work and you get tired, or you get into that sort of deflecting mindset.
Defeatist.
Yeah, defeatist attitude. And a lot of alcoholics get that. They just keep getting back on the wagon, or they keep getting back drinking. They can't help it. That happens all the time. They can't.
They're not strong enough to pull through, and
too much work.
It's hard, you know. And the thing is, it's 80% mental and 20% physical. I really think that you have to have your mindset to the top peak if you're going to compete and do stuff like that. Because if you're going in there with like a you know, maybe something ain't going on right at home, or you know, just anything. Maybe the family member's dying. Maybe just something ain't going right, and you go into a fight. You know, that wears and tears on you, like mentally, and it's mentally taxing.
What's been the toughest fight for you to go into? Because you've gone into fights with like legal issues hanging over your head. You've gone into fights with a lot of bullshit going on in the background.
That would probably been what the Eves Edwards fight, which is where I got clipped, and I was like I told you before, I was like, man, I feel like a young specimen. You know, I can take anything, whatever. And, you know, in the gym, I was actually working on my athleticism. I was feeling a lot more better. I was a lot lighter on my feet. And then when I went into that fight all stressed out, I felt like the old me. I was just all shrugged up. I was tight. I was just going for it. And there was just really no excuses. That's my style of fighting is I'm willing to risk it to get a, you know, I want to make bank, bro, you know. And I was going into that fight with just not a clear head. I didn't have my head on my shoulders, and I was just gunning for it. You know, I needed the money. Like, I just felt like I just got robbed of so much. I got robbed of my freedom. I got robbed of, like, my my kids, putting food on the table for my kids. I was like, man, this isn't right. You know,
What happened with you? You had some sort of a legal situation where somebody accused you of assault, and then it was
someone accused me of basically just assaulting them and beating them like real bad. I guess like the person had like stopped breathing. But was
it a missing identity or a mistaken identity case? Like
no, it was just a classic fact that I threw an after party at like a smaller bar, and to be honest, I didn't even see a fight break out, and a fight had broken out, and it carried on outside, and there was a miscommunication with people. I guess like the bar owner was trying to kick this drunk guy out who. From what I know, he was at the bar. He got kicked away from the bar, and he's like, "Give me my credit card." And he's just being disrespectful, groping on women, you know, just being obnoxious, drunk. You know, a guy needed to go home and just take a chill pill. Well, keep in mind, this guy's like in the army. You know, he's like somebody you'd think that you'd look up to or had some type of respect. And he just gets drunk. Basically, the bartender kicks him out, and then he ends up like kicking the owner in the nuts for trying to get him out. Well, he punched some dude actually, and the dude had hit him back. In like self-defense, then he'd kick the owner in the nuts, gets thrown out. They're like, "Hey man, this is like a private party. You got to leave." He starts getting into it with another guy, and then that's when it happened to be my after party from a fight that I had, and that's where my name had got brought up. And I was actually called down to the police station the next day. Was like, "Hey, you know, I heard you guys were looking for me. Like, what's going on?" You know, and my management team was there. He actually seen the fight. And he knew a lot about what was going on, so we were just like being proactive.
So you didn't have anything to do with it at all?
No, nothing at all. I didn't even see a fight even break out or any.
So was
type
it
of
the fact that the dude got knocked the fuck out and he thought you did it?
I guess he got beat bad, and like then people were like mentioning like my name. It was my party, and the guy who actually did it turned himself in to the police.
Oh, what a trip!
And then I ended up getting in trouble like almost a year later for something I completely didn't do. And I was actually in Des Moines and was calling down to see if I needed to be questioned. They're like, "Oh no, there's nothing to be questioned here."
So it was just something that you were on the hook for a while that you had nothing to do with.
Nothing to do with it.
And it cost you a shitload of money and legal fees. And
yeah, and just a lot of just mental stuff. And now that I look back at it, it's crazy. I'm a lot stronger of a person from it. You know, I really watch who I'm hanging out with now.
Yeah.
I don't go out. You know, I mean, I have kids. You know, there's a time to.
Well, you have a
grow
serious
up.
fucking career now too, man. I mean, you're highly ranked. That Honey Jason knockout was a big wake up call for a lot of people at 145 pounds.
Thanks, man.
You've had 2 fights there now.
Yeah, I just credit to my coaches, man, my team, my family. You know, and thanks for like UFC and like Dana White for really believing me. And I was just like, man, I had nothing to do with this, dude. You know, like I just got robbed of so much, but that didn't define me as a person, the person that I was becoming in the gym. And you know, it's just going to show now's the right time. I think everything's really connected in my career thanks to my coaches and everybody who's supporting me. I think right now I'm really starting to grow because, you know, when I first seen you, I was just turned 21 in the UFC, and I really kind of grew up inside the UFC and fought guys that I probably shouldn't have been fighting at or didn't really have a chance, and I'd go out and I'd win. You know, so I had a young career. You know, when I was 22 years old, I had like $100,000 in my bank account. I didn't even know what to do with it. I was just enjoying myself.
Well, you did the smart thing, man. You realized that you had potential, and you went down to a serious gym. You know, Alliance in San Diego, without a doubt, is one of the best gyms in the country. It's an excellent move, the perfect thing for you to do.
Yep.
And look, it's a beautiful thing to see, right?
Yeah,
hard work and reaping the rewards.
Eric
of that.
Del Ferro, man, he's the man, dude. He's almost like a sports psychologist. He just really knows how to click with me, knows what to say, how to work with me. And I was looking for that for like the longest time when I was traveling. I went to Florida with Hermes and had some run-ins with some bad management, and like I was just getting screwed over there. So just didn't really have the right people around me at the time, and I was just searching for somebody just to grab a hold of me and just mold me into something. You know, I knew I had all the skills and talent. I just needed that type of coach, and I think I really found that with Coach Eric Del Ferro, man. That guy, he's creating a monster, and I love where he's going.
What's next for you now? Who are you fighting next? Because I know that there was going to be a quick turnaround because your fight was quick.
Yeah, fight was quick. I'm healthy. It was a personal goal of mine to get in there, get after it, get a huge win. And I'd set some goals for myself. You know, I see them every day. They're hung up on my door. And this is one of my goals. I'm going back close to my hometown, which is Chicago, January 25th. Oh. I think Josh Thompson, Benson Henderson's on that card. And my hometown's just right next door, and this is a real huge fight for me.
Who are you fighting?
Oh, I'm fighting Darren Elkins.
That's a good fight.
Yeah. He's a tough wrestler. He's from the Midwest guy, and I really just think that I have all the skills to beat him. I'm just going to keep this ball steamrolling.
Nice.
You think he's going to try to take you down?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Hey, Elkins is tough as fuck, dude. He bangs with everybody.
He does. He does bang, but he's very smart. He utilizes his wrestling.
He is.
He's got a good ground and pound. He's lengthy. He knows how to use his range. But I see a few holes in his game, man. It's going to be a great fight. It's going to be a fun fight, and I think he'll bring out a lot of viciousness in me by his attacks.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an awesome fucking fight. That card is sick. I love that Benson Henderson, Josh Thompson fight. I like the fact that Josh Thompson, even though he's in line for a title, the champ gets hurt, and he's like, who else?
I like that. I like that about fighters, man. I don't believe in waiting around, man. Just go ahead and just prove. Kenny Florian, somebody I actually looked up to a long time ago. He was just beating these guys, and they're like, man, Florian, what's next? A title shot? And he's like, no, what, man? He's like, I just tell you what. He's like, just bring me whoever. He's like, I'll beat anybody from top to bottom just to prove that I deserve this title shot. And he's like, I just want everybody to know that. And I was just like, what a beast,
Yeah, I love the fact that Thompson is coming into his own after a long history of being in the fight game. But he's as good as he's ever been. That fight against Nate Diaz was fantastic, and his fights in Strikeforce with Gilbert were fantastic before then.
He's really improved he's always been an athlete. He even back when they cut the UFC, he was fighting Eves. He ended up getting a vicious kick. He's throwing a back fist and ended up getting caught. But he's had a long, good, successful career, and he's very athletic, very skilled, and he's like really coming into his prime right now.
Yeah, he's been around for a long time, man. He's like
true vet.
A true vet, but a real smart dude.
Skilled, very
skilled, smart. He does a lot of sneaky shit. Those trips that he hit, those trips that he hit Gilbert with, I love those. He grabs your neck and trips you and shit. He does a lot of weird shit.
And then he'll strike. He'll do like a takedown, and right away he'll pop up just to strike and throw elbows at you. He's really interesting to watch. He's a fun guy to watch. He's real active at 55.
Yeah, there's such a good fucking weight class, man. 55 is so crazy. There's so many good fucking talent-filled weight classes now. 45 stacked, 35 stacked.
I was impressed. It's like Josh Thompson, Rashad Evans, all these guys. They're like with that. He went right through Chael, man. That was a different fight. That was a different Rashad. I think he's on a different level.
We got to wrap this up. Unfortunately, we're almost out of time. At 3 hours, we run out of gas.
Okay.
We turn into a pumpkin. Yeah, Ustream can't handle a recording that's more than 3 hours long for whatever reason.
My point is, real quick, Robbie Lawler, another one.
Dude, that's another good example.
All of a sudden, he looks vicious, man. He's throwing kicks now.
He's
holy shit.
He's coming into his own. He's
That's
a
amazing.
monster.
They're just sticking it out. They just keep sticking it out, keep grinding. It takes years to get your striking together. It takes years, and a lot of fighters quit before their striking gets.
Well, it's also just focus and maturity, and really putting in the work.
They grew up inside the octagon. Him and even Diaz. Mm-hmm. Diaz was like 18 when he fought Lawler and them guys.
And Roy McDonald ended the fight on top, elbowing Robbie. So props to Roy McDonald too.
Roy
Holy
McDonald's
shit!
a bad motherfucker.
Holy shit!
It was a great fight.
Sure.
All right, Jeremy Stevens, we got to do this again.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Next time you're in LA, man, let's do it again. It was a lot of fun.
Let me go get this win, man. I'm like 9.5 weeks out from a camp right now, so I'm going to go back, and then I'm just going to enjoy myself, man. It's going to be fun.
Congratulations
Chicago,
on
man.
all your success, man. You've been really doing great. It's beautiful to watch you improve. It's awesome to watch your hard work pay off.
Appreciate it, man. It's a pleasure sitting here next to you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. It was an honor. All right, thanks to Eddie Bravo as well. Go to 10thplanetjj.com and learn some jiu-jitsu, son. 10th Planet headquarters at the Tap Out Gym in Los Angeles. The master, Eddie Bravo, teaches there himself on a nightly basis, you dirty bitches.
Yeah, I'm going to 10th Planet San Francisco this Saturday. Go to the Nibiru forum on 10thplanetjj.com for all the info. This Saturday, 10th Planet San Francisco.
Eddie Bravo on Twitter, and Jeremy Stevens is Lil Heathen, Lil Heathen. That's his nickname. Don't ask. He'll fuck you up. Lil Heathen on Twitter. Awesome. Thanks also to squarespace.com. Go to squarespace.com. Use the offer code, all one word, Joe, and the number 11 to save yourself 10% off. No credit card needed. Just try it out and start building a website. It's a fucking beautiful service, and if you like it, then you put in your credit card. You can use it. You can make your own website. You can start your own business on it. You can have your own online store. It's so easy. Even a dummy like me can do it. An easy and awesome way for anybody to design their own website. Thanks also to Lumosity.com. This is the correct website, lumosity.com/Joe. That's lumosity.com/Joe. Click the Start Training button and start playing your first game. That's the special offer. You can try Lumosity. It is a fantastic way to get your brain in shape based on the science of neuroplasticity. So go check it out. Enjoy it. love the fuck out of it like we do. And thanks also to Onnit.com. That's ONNIT. Use the code name Rogan and save 10% off any and all supplements. We'll be back tomorrow with Lorenzo from the Psychedelic Salon, one of my personal favorite podcasts. He's going to be joining me. And then on Wednesday, the great Brian Callen will be here. All right, you freaks. We love the shit out of you, and we'll see you soon. Big kiss. Give him a big kiss, Jeremy. There you go. Eddie Bravo, too. There you go.